Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out, thanks and appreciation to Moon Harvest, Amish Earther, Naughty Thumbnails, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMels24, Unamento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Kenna Bear, Fiber Oats, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Tina Baker, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
No, go ahead and go get your coffee. I was going to talk to Brian.
What's going on, John? How are things?
Did you see that post I did about claiming a gas pressure gradient?
When did you post it? Is that only recently?
Yeah, just in earlier this morning.
I think I did see your post. Yeah, you're talking about horizontal gradients vertical gradients over horizontal plane.
Well, yeah, but it starts at 14.6 psi at sea level. You know what I mean? So yeah. They have I don't know where they think they're going to go with that measurement. 14.6 psi at sea level to claim that there's layers of gases creating a pressure gradient, because those layers require horizontal boundary layers, and it to start at sea level. I don't know if have they ever addressed that?
What they're talking about is sea level up to cloud level. So two horizontals, basically, because that's what the boundary layer is, cloud level. Wherever the cloud level is, starts for you, that's where the start of the boundary layer is. Same for me or anyone else. So they're talking about two horizontal planes and a vertical gradient between them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it starts at sea level, and that has to be the horizontal base of their gradient.
Yeah. 14.7 pounds per square inch of pressure.
So, yeah, right. So how do you conceptualize Earth as a sphere with sea level being horizontal?
Yeah, and vertical pressure gradients. And then you have a boundary layer, which is also a level horizontal.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I was giggling about, thinking back to them saying, oh, it's a gas pressure gradient where it gradiates off to zero or almost to zero, or, because there is no such thing as zero pressure, but it'd be like, 10 to the negative 17 torr pressure from at such and such a height from sea level.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Well, look at what pilots do. They fly, right, a cruising altitude, right, holding a horizontal, they fly a cruising altitude holding a horizontal position to hold a pressure with the altimeters. Holds a pressure. They read like they're using pressure that is a layer at that altitude. Let's say 6 miles up. they know that the pressure at 6 miles up is that pressure. They know they're 6 miles up because they have a horizontal layer that they're able to follow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to see
Yeah,
it that
so
way. It's
even-
mathematically a layer. Although it's not actually a layer, it's just that's just the pressure.
Right. So even when they try to conceptualize a space vacuum, they need a flat Earth for that.
Yeah, exactly. Because, well, technically, if you go up to as high as I'm saying, high altitude balloons can go to 30 miles, but I don't know. I've never seen one go to 30 miles, but I've seen a lot get to 24 kind of miles high. But at that point, they're in a low grade vacuum, and it's probably about 10 to the minus 2 torr. And that's all, they derive all that via a vertical, the vertical distance that the balloon traveled, and the pressure that it's reading on the sensors. To get 24 miles straight up. Yeah.
That vertical distance is calculated from sea level, right?
Yes. Like altitude on an airplane is based off of sea level. You know? So basically, like our altitude is based off of sea level. Elevation is height above sea level of something geographic, whereas altitude is just a basic height above sea level.
Right. And their horizontal boundaries of boundary layers in their paradigm or their belief. I mean, even if there are horizontal boundary layers, it doesn't even matter. The fact that they're horizontal and they start at sea level is the tie, that holds it together. Sea level is a horizontal here in that.
Yeah, how are you going to calculate it without treating sea level as a horizontal? There's no way to calculate it. How are you going to calculate it off a chord? You can't. To calculate a vertical, you need a horizontal. That's it, and that's what they're claiming: a calculation of a vertical or a measurement of something of a measurement that's taken as something takes a horizontal or a vertical path.
Yeah, it's like I was giggling.
I mean, I
about
have heard someone claim level is curved.
Well, it can't be, because you wouldn't have your horizontal boundary layer to say level is curved, and you know an atmospheric law out the window. Then you couldn't conceptualize your gas pressure gradient anymore.
Well, how do you have a gradient that's diverging from a central point, if you want to see it that way? Like, if we go by what they're claiming, it's diverging from the surface of a sphere. So it's all diverging out in all directions away from a central point of the sphere, center of mass. How is that a gradient? A gradient is always a vertical.
Right, that's what they claim verbally. But when they describe it or they calculate it, they use level as a horizontal plane, and they calculate from that. So they can say whatever, you know what I mean? Like anybody can say whatever. You can put words together incorrectly all day long. But anytime they try to describe it, they have to use Earth as a horizontal plane of reference.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a gradient of something in, let's say in a point glass, a clear glass, right? And you have a gradient of stuff in there. It's a gradient, a vertical gradient based off of the horizontal flat baseline of the glass. And then the glass will be sitting on another flat baseline. It would be the floor, the table, whatever you want to put it on. You know what I mean? There's no other way to have a gradient. You can't have a vertical gradient without referring to the horizontal. You can't calculate or measure a gradient without a horizontal. Can't be done. Like, you can't call something. The problem is they're calling things verticals when they're not verticals. There's no way that any line that you draw from the center of a sphere out from the sphere can be a vertical, because you've haven't determined the horizontal, and you can't determine a horizontal. You can't claim that these verticals are meeting a tangent plane, a horizontal tangent plane, because that makes horizontal a local phenomenon. So which one of them is horizontal? Do you know what I mean? They're trying to say your horizontal is a local phenomenon and my horizontal is a local phenomenon. But that means none of them are horizontals, and our zeniths aren't verticals. Because even if we mathematically can make a right angle to using a tangent plane, it's a right angle. It's not a perpendicular. You don't have a vertical and a horizontal if you're believing in a sphere. Those two things can't exist. If you believe you live on a sphere, horizontal and vertical can't exist. Yet that's what's used constantly. In basically all of their claims, they must use the horizontal plane of reference and the vertical above it.
Indeed.
Are you back?
Yeah, I've been back for ages, just been listening. The interesting bit you say is that when they try and justify, each horizon being different, it's like, well, then none of them apply that principle that Bev has coined, all horizontals being perpendicular with the plane of the horizon. Well, that no longer stands true, is what you're saying. And you're right. Their justification means that, well, what use is it at that point? You're decrying the usefulness of the horizon if you say that. Oh, it's only being decried so you can retain your ball faith. It's kind of pathetic. Now, they don't know it's pathetic, but we now know it's pathetic. We can point that out, right? As you are. As you were.
Well, it can't. Sorry. You can't. Horizontal can't exist. If you're claiming it's only a local phenomenon, then it can't exist because horizontal is the reference for all above and below pitch and elevation. So how can we use that and it just be a local phenomenon? It's not. It's a constant orientation, just like vertical.
The other thing I heard from the kitchen while I was making coffee from John was something that used to get said by amateur flat earthers back in 2015, but they just didn't realise how powerful it was, and it caught a lot of flack, right?
What was that?
I'm a swig of coffee.
Yes. Oh, I wonder.
Well, he was talking about how it's in reference to sea level. Now, he's saying it with a deep, meaningful understanding of what he means when he says, when they reference the height of the mountain off sea level, yeah? And then he could go into how it's a differential calculation of the plane of the surface and the plane of your eye level. But what he's saying is identical to what was said in 2015. What will sea level by an amateur flat earther. They just don't know the deeper meaning to it that we now do and John has just detailed. My point being that the most simplistic argument, which is, well, it's sea level, right? That means level. It means there's no curve to it. Well, when we were put down because, don't be so silly, level means curved, at the time we went, does it? Let's argue about it. Now we're like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's just say you take a series of mountains, let's just say, two different parts of the United States, one to the east and one to the west, let's just say. And you use, let's say, mean sea level as a curved arc, right? That's equidistant from the center of the globe, right? And that means that your reference is only, let's say you're at one mountain in the west and I'm on another mountain in the east. That means that the reference for the peak of those two mountains is the same equidistance from the center of a globe we're standing on, right? But the problem with that is then those two peaks can't be referenced in relation to one another if you're talking about elevations. How do you reference those two peaks? And you can only reference, the only reference you have is from what they would call mean sea level being a curve. So you got only that exact point that peak is above. That's the reference. But the peak you're on and the peak I'm on, then how do you reference the two of them together?
It's a bit like the gravity problem for Einstein. You can only reference it from a single point, when you start referencing the height above sea level for the observed point versus your point, you're going to need a flat Earth for it. And all.
Good
Hey,
morning.
how are things?
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good morning for some, good evening for others. Hello, welcome, one and all. It's good to have you. Say hello from Discord. Let everybody know that you are actually alive and you're not just pretend little stickers I have on the show.
Live from
You'll need
Discord.
Live from Discord, it's Duncan, proving he's real. Thank you very much, Duncan. And again, one more time.
Hakuna Matata
Una Matata.
from Discord.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough.
What a wonderful
Hello.
phrase.
Let's
My
not get
sound
into
good?
it. We'll get a Disney copyright. Let's not do this. Hello, Arwin. Good to have you.
Disney copyright.
Yeah, well, if you start singing Hakuna Matata, what do you want?
That's only if we take the recording of the song by Disney. We
Oh.
can actually just sing it ourselves.
Oh, I'm trusting that just singing it ourselves would be so accurate that it would set the copyright algorithm off immediately because we're so tone perfect.
Yeah, sure.
Meanwhile, is there any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there.
Well, what is the distance to the sun that we're given? What is that based on? It's based on the need for the sun to be something very big and at a great distance for us to receive almost parallel light rays from it that allows us then to live on a globe where the shadows we see in reality are explained by the fact that it's claimed that this sun is very big and far away, giving us almost parallel light rays hitting the globe. So that's where that's why the sun is claimed to be big and far away. But is that a measurement of size and distance?
How would you know if the shadows are parallel?
Well, this is the thing about it. It's like you're not going to know that. Like it's like the shadows we see in reality. The shadows we see in reality. They needed to be explained, and they believed we live on a globe. So Eratosthenes said, "Well, as I've just measured the Earth flat with a 500-mile elevation angle, I now need to, you know what I mean, up my game here." So he said, if the sun is really big and far away, then that explains the shadow that I just used as the starting point of my elevation angle. That involved a 500-mile horizontal distance along the Earth.
Oh, he couldn't have got that angle off a curve, though.
Well, that's the point. He
Just
needed
got to
to.
interrupt. Really sorry, Brian. Hands up who's done primary source research on Eratosthenes.
I have
How far did you go back?
to whatever information was there. I mean, what do you mean by go back?
Okay, first and foremost, what was the primary source? Not Eratosthenes, that's for damn sure.
Just whatever I could find about the official story online.
But that's not doing primary source research. You're having a laugh.
Well, I suppose it's not primary source research. I can't really reference Eratosthenes, but
Well,
I
you can.
do know.
Don't get me wrong. Let's rephrase that, because if you find somebody's scanned in a 300-year-old copy of blah, blah, blah that has been handed down from XYZ in the references that talks about something 1,000 years ago, I'll go, okay, so you went back to a source that described this, not firsthand, 300 years ago. That would be my standard. Now, whether or not you get that from in the internet or not is not really relevant. I'm just saying, you know, the way you phrased it was such that you've done a bit of Googling and you found your way to what information's online about Eratosthenes and you're calling that primary source research. Well, no, that's woefully lacking. Anybody else?
But you can't do primary source research on Eratosthenes.
Well, that's a much better answer. Why would that be?
Yeah, well, because the historian wrote about him before he was born.
Excuse me, did I hear Brian's voice change? What's happening? Did he suddenly become foreign?
This is my Dutch voice.
I was going to say, suddenly Brian's become much more foreign than... I said the other day, right, I was going to post something to Brian, and I was like, well, it's Ireland. It's not like it's going abroad. It's Ireland. And Brian was like, no, it is abroad. I'm like, yeah, it is, isn't it? You bloody foreigner. So then
Technically, I'm a foreigner,
I went down to a tech shop and told my tech guy about the problem Brian's having, and he just happened to have a whole bunch of Macs with exactly the same problem with the graphics card that's not soldered onto the chip. And then I'd left the conversation, said I'd pass on contact info. Then when I told Brian that, I went on to say, I didn't mention you're Irish, meaning foreign, you know, so he might not be cool with it. Anyway, that joke aside. Arwin, let Brian actually answer my question. Why would it be difficult to do primary source research on Eratosthenes, Brian?
I think, as far as I know, the first information concerning Eratosthenes didn't turn up until the late 70s. So that's
Now we're
why
getting
I
somewhere.
don't.
Go
I
ahead.
can't verify. I can't verify that it actually happened or that he existed.
Right, but I'm not. Let's not leave it in such a manner that it just seems like you're just rubbish at doing primary source research, because that may very well be the case. Has anybody actually tried to go back and find old documents or found where the trail ends for when this story, which is all it is, oh, well, light must be coming in parallel. So if I think of it coming to the center of a sphere Earth, the lines that I'm using off a flat plane that Brian described at the beginning, chuckling, will mean it's curved. You know, that story must originate somewhere. And I just wondered if anybody, how far someone, if anyone, had gone back to see when did this story start being told. Now, I can pretty much concur from my own looking into this, but yeah, go back to the 70s and you can find stories. But I'm saying beyond that, which is scraping the surface, let's be honest, Brian, anybody else? Arwin, as you were so keen, let's see what you've got to add rather than stealing Brian's thunder.
Do I need to repeat it? I mean, from what I heard, even somebody was inquiring Chat GPT about it even, and asking for the sources of this Aristophanes, was it? And it turned out that the historian that was actually used for the source to write about him wrote about his life before he was born in the linear timeline, which makes it totally paradoxical, but the Chat GPT refused to recognize that.
Okay.
And so that is it.
You've opened a can of worms, which is interesting, which is to say, okay, you decide that you're going to do this primary source research on Eratosthenes, and you go to Chat GPT, and ask it, how far do the records go back? What's the earliest reference? And then you read it off Chat GPT. If that's where it stopped, I'd be like slapping your wrists. Whereas if you actually went and verified that what Chat GPT had provided you was a genuine source, you know, it did exist, and there were actually like first editions that existed that were printed in that year and things like that. In other words, you didn't just take it as read, because otherwise, if we all just follow the idea that, well, primary source research means typing it into Chat GPT rather than Google, then again, I'm slapping me in the head.
That's a fair assessment. I mean, but I'm pretty sure that Chat GPT can actually, when inquired, source its information, and then
I don't dispute that.
Out.
Yeah, okay, I don't dispute that. Let's not get into this wrangle dangle. All we're asking for is a distance to the sun, for heaven's sake.
Right. And I'm not challenging the rhetoric that we're given on Google. I'm just pointing out that even parallel rays, and there's amazing distances they claim, require a plane to measure the angles to claim they're parallel to give you those distances to begin with.
Right on. Speaking of which, any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline? That is to say, if the Earth was a sphere and had a curve to it, how would you acquire an elevation angle measurement to, well, let's say, navigate with?
You couldn't.
You couldn't. Earth has to be flat to navigate.
Well, Earth would have to be flat to establish a horizontal.
You just use a plumb bob and that's it, right? You'd have a string and a weight pointing at the center of the sphere Earth, and that's it. You can't really get a baseline. That doesn't even exist. We wouldn't have a definition of baseline.
Those two things aren't connected.
Because the Earth is a sphere.
Hold on, stop. Those two things aren't connected. You dangle a plum because what? You're going to employ the geometric principle and say that with respect to the line that you've dropped, you've got a horizontal with respect to that line. Okay, that's in isolation. Fine. But then you started talking about a ball Earth beneath you. with the plumb moving to the center of it. You're like, what the hell's that got to do with anything? If you're going to establish a horizontal by using a plumb, then with respect to that plumb, every line that comes off it must be horizontal if you're going to reference that particular plumb line to give you horizontal. But that's nothing to do with the Earth. That's everything to do with you dangling a plumb and then just stating that after the fact there's a sphere Earth below it. That means nothing. Those two things are they're not connected.
Hold on. You said
can't do that.
specifically on a globe Earth. So I'm giving you how it works on a globe Earth.
Not on,
globe.
or not to, but from. That is to say, by way of utilization of the surface of a presumed to be sphere, get your elevation angle measurement from that curved surface. Not get your horizontal from something with respect to a plumb bob. No, because that's got nothing to do with the ground, and that's what we're discussing.
Oh, you can't do that.
It goes if you're using the horizon. I mean, you can't use a plumb bob on the sphere.
He's using a plumb. What are you talking about? Stop. He's not. Hold on. You're doing it to him now. Just hold on, Brian. He's not doing that. He's not using the horizon. He's using a plumb bob.
Right, but he invoked vertical.
Everyone else, can you just let Arwin defend his position, which he'll do badly? Go ahead, Arwin.
Yeah, you can't use all that on a sphere. So if you were on a sphere, you wouldn't even be asking that question.
Yeah, I would. If we are presumed to be on a sphere by the vast majority of the Western world, and therefore I absolutely am asking that question and describing how you can just acquire a horizontal and then describing how it works with respect to a presupposed sphere is totally moot. It's not relevant when I'm asking specifically with respect to a curved ground you, the Western world, assume you are on. How would you acquire an elevation angle with respect to that curved ground? Not just how you'd acquire horizontal, which is what you're doing with a plumb.
You wouldn't on a sphere, and the horizon, quite frankly, wouldn't be geometrically relevant to anything that you do if you would live on a sphere.
Spot on. Ah, excellent. That was a much better conclusion, but John and Brian have got something to add, I'm sure, before I move on. Go ahead, Brian, then John. Or John, then Brian. I mean, it doesn't matter. Whichever leaves the least dead air.
Yeah, I had to get gloves off me because you wouldn't leave me talk, so I went down. No, you can't.
Try that once more. I had plumb bob in that. The rest was all too Irish.
Okay, you can't do anything with a plumb bob if you're claiming the Earth as a sphere. Because if I hold a plumb bob up to the horizon, then the horizon is the perpendicular horizontal to that vertical plumb bob. The plumb bob is the vertical perpendicular to the horizon. The two of them create perpendicular. You can't have one without the other. Now, let me ask you a question. Is the horizon a tangent plane?
No.
Right. That's the end of that then. Every time you use a plumb bob and you're using the horizon, you're referencing a horizontal plane. That's the way it is.
I got that, but you've got to use it in conjunction, and Arwin has now segued into that anyway, so we're fine. But at the point that Arwin just made the declaration of, well, I just dangle a plumb bob, assume it's moving to the centre of a sphere Earth, and then I can acquire horizontal with respect to my plumb bob, and I've already incorporated a presupposed spherical Earth that the line dangles to the centre of. Well, at that point, he hadn't utilised the horizon. He's going to be using it when you're navigating around, doing anything with things, building stuff, basically anything functional. Then, yes, it's going to be with respect to the ground and with respect to the horizon, which derives your horizontal planes. Well, yes, but at that point he hadn't. Now we have. And anything that the globe Earth's going to claim is going to be respect to something that's already established, datums, or sea level, or something else in the distance that's already been referenced with its height if you're referring to it. And it will be referenced to sea level also.
You can't have that. You can't have diverging plumbs. Like, if plumb is created vertical, then they can't be divergent. Go on, John.
Well, the thing is, when he said dangle a plumb bob to get your vertical, that's where he snuck it in. Because vertical is always in reference to the horizontal orientation, right? Orientation deals with the ground when you're talking about vertical. So,
well, not if you lived on a sphere.
Owen, let me hear how sneaky you've been. Go ahead, John.
Right. So tying the plumb bob to vertical, but never explicitly stating that he will be referencing the ground by using the word vertical is the trick that they use to try to claim elevation angles.
Gotcha. I didn't spot that bit, but I knew what he was doing. Good. And good Arwin, ultimately the purveyor of this magic trick. You know, kudos to you, ultimately, Arwin. I know you want to sneak in and try and decry the people pulling it apart, because you've learned how to effectively utilize this trick, which is awesome. For a baller.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out how it would actually work if you lived on a ball, right? And
you say
how
that.
incredibly surreal that it would be. You wouldn't have the horizon. The horizon would just be like, oh, that's just what you can't see because stuff is in front of it.
It's
right?
very glass half full of you.
Anything.
It's very glass half full to say, well, I'm trying to figure out how you would mentally do the gymnastics to end up at a ball, and that's how you cognitively go through it to try and functionally make it work, which always means there's a slight globe-based positive spin that you put on it while you're going through that mental process with us. But it's very useful because it means that we get to pull it apart, not only in terms of how you're trying to, you're trying to mentally advantage yourself by understanding how it works. That's why you're phrasing it the way you are. But it means we have something to brace against. Therefore, you're going to be, not talking over because you want to win the argument, but explaining how you're doing your mental processing. It's all very useful. I've got such a great panel. But in this instance, you get most of the props because you were the one who snuck it in. We just pulled it apart.
And no
but Nathan, there's a
Arwin, then Brian, go ahead.
All right. No, just saying, no problem. I like doing this. I'm glad you guys are appreciating it.
I'm having fun. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, there's a problem. There's a deeper issue here, and I've tried to highlight it in the past too. And John has been trying to highlight it. You can't hold a plumb bob in your sitting room now, and I can't hold a plumb bob in my house now, and the two of them not be parallel if we're both claiming they're vertical. If I'm claiming my plumb bob is creating a vertical, and you're claiming your plumb bob is creating a vertical, then they must be parallel. They cannot be divergent. Because if they're divergent, then which one of them is?
I got it.
They're both supposed to reference a horizontal.
Well, that's what I was going to add, because John got there first, but your addition to John's point in that regard is perfect. It's like, if you're going to claim that you've got that vertical, it's in reference to the orientation. Well, that's in reference to the ground. Now, if you've also, and you're adding this, and that's a great addition, saying, well, if you're also dangling a plumb bob, well, then you're also employing that same principle John went through. Therefore, they must be parallel. That's just the fact of life that we deal with when we dangle plumb bobs. Now, what does this all mean in reference to the ground? Well, it means that both people are referencing horizontal. The ground must be horizontal. There is no other way for this to work. The world we inhabit functionally is horizontal, and those are the principles that are employed. Now, what Brian is doing and what John has done initially, after taking apart Arwin's admission that he's employing the ground without saying it when he just drops a plumb line, very clever, is pointing out these very basic principles. They're only basic principles, aren't they? But we're linking them back to how that works with the ground if the ground was curving, and it wouldn't work anymore. That's the point. So it seems like, if you just tuned in at a certain section, you go, well, they're just talking about basic principles, right? Stuff being parallel. Wowee. Yeah, but that is in direct reference to the ground, and that's how it works. The ground, the reference of our territory, how we inhabit our environment, is flat. Or to put it another way, Earth is flat. That's how we deal with Earth. That's how it functions. And a lot of the principles we have derived have come from working the Earth and using the Earth and navigating the Earth. And then we get to simplify them into these principles, like parallel, as Brian's described, or as orientation has been described by John. Now, understanding those principles into a way we can linguistically describe them to one another, again, why would those things come about linguistically? Because they have a useful practical application for one person to communicate with another about the environment that they are inhabiting, which is flat. Earth is flat. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Nathan, hang on, before you go.
Oh, I thought we concluded. I gave everybody a chance. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. I need to make a point here, right? when you are claiming a vertical in Leamington, and I'm claiming a vertical in Waterford, and that means we're both referencing horizontal. That means you have a horizontal and I have a horizontal. Now, if you're at a different elevation above sea level than I am, that means we both have parallel horizontals, right? The two horizontal lines, they're a constant. They have no measure. They have no limit to their size, but they're just lines that are parallel to each other based off of the main horizontal, which is mean sea level. Now, when Bev, right, this is why Bev tries to attack people geometrically and say that Earth is not flat. It's because the horizontal you're referencing and horizontal I'm referencing are parallel lines. So parallel horizontals means the Earth can't be a flat plane if you were to treat flat as a geometric claim.
One more time.
Just as a description.
I don't understand. Parallel horizons,
Horizontals.
meaning you can't have a flat. That sounds ass about face. That sounds wrong.
Yeah, but no, he's talking about from a surveying point of view. If the horizontal you're referencing with your plumb bob and the horizontal I'm referencing with my plumb bob, if their elevations are different elevations above mean sea level, that means that, there is also mean sea level. That means there's elevations. When he says that means the Earth
Sorry,
is not
I got
flat,
it now.
that's
What you say?
what
What you're dressing up in a fancy way is saying if there's a topology change, Earth can't be flat. And strictly speaking, Earth not being completely smooth, as Sleeping Warrior likes to phrase it, he'd be correct.
No.
Why not?
No.
Hold on. Why not?
Because
There's topology. In that respect,
because,
if I pick one point and say that I've dropped a plumb bob and I've got my reference to sea level, you do it over there and it's a slightly different elevation, then obviously the principle is still the same, that both run parallel. However, you're a different elevation to me. So how can you describe the slope between the two of us defies the fact that it's flat in that specific description of the lay of the land? Every point is slightly different to every other point. As an overall reference, as an overall plane is the only other word I can use, it's all flat. There's no description that can describe anything else to give you a reference to describe how high I am respect to you. But the fact that we are at different elevations does quite literally defy flatness, because there's a difference in elevation. Therefore, he's correct.
No, he's not. Because you're at the falling into the trap that a lot of people fall into with this situation. Is they start looking at it, because he fell into his own trap in a way, because he started holding people to a geometric standard. Flat is a descriptor. It is not a geometric claim. You will not find flat described and detailed in Euclid's Elements, for instance, or from Eratosthenes, or from Pythagoras.
Fine. I don't mind. I could go through the whole thing again and say level, or I could go through the same thing and say horizontal if you prefer. I don't mind substituting in my language if you would prefer me to.
No, leave me finish.
Okay.
When you look at the definitions for flat, the synonyms of flat are level, horizontal, right? Because horizontal has to be flat, right? But also smooth. But what is smooth? Smooth is touch sensitive. How do you determine if something is smooth? There's nothing in the Earth. There's absolutely nothing in reality that is 100% smooth. Smooth is touch sensitive. Now, if you take the full expanse of the latitude and longitude grid, and you take the full height of Mount Everest, then its height above mean sea level would be equivalent to, if you were to scale it down, then that would make Mount Everest half the height of a human hair, less than half the height of a human hair. Now, if you rub a hand across the table, a lot of wooden tables, there's many undulations, but you don't feel them because you have undulations on your hand, so it feels smooth. So undulations doesn't change the description, because my table is undulations, but that doesn't mean I have any other better way of describing it.
That's a good way of describing it, yes. And Morgile, shout out to him, did this originally when he first critiqued flat earthers for taking Neil deGrasse Tyson out of context with a very similar description. He then went on to describe how he would do it like you just did it, and I'm going to do it like Morgile did it. So shout out, because that's where this has come from. But originally, Neil deGrasse Tyson's explaining Earth with a scale of I think he used a bowling ball. Anyway, what he's describing is how much chubbier Earth is at the bottom, and he specifically states that it's pear-shaped. Now, that is the cutoff point in the edit for a flat earther back in 2016 or 17, where they were taking this and saying, look, he says it's pear-shaped, and then they'd flash up some stupid pear-shaped Earth meme to go alongside it. However, what he went on to say was, if the Earth was the scale of a bowling ball, and you were to run your fingers over the said bowling ball scale Earth, then you wouldn't feel a thing. It would be like a bowling ball, perfectly smooth. There'd be nothing to it. Now, at the microscopic level, there's obviously massive undulations and great big imperfections at the microscopic level. But to you at that scale, it's perfectly smooth. Now, that is directly after saying it's pear-shaped. Perfectly smooth, and I believe he said perfectly spherical to you. In other words, you're not going to notice what he described as being ever so slightly bigger at the bottom in his bullshit world of sphere Earth in a sky vacuum. The point being, at that scale, for a ball Earth, if you can imagine that amount of land, albeit wrapped around a sphere, he's saying when shrunk down to the point that you could actually hold it all at once, he's got the whole world. Anyway, it would be smooth. Now, Morgul went on to say, if you were to describe the plane of the existence that we know, because it's been mapped, and you were to lay it out at roughly the same scale, you know, a map that's about yay big, you can fit it within your arm's length, then it, if it had every mountain perfectly laid out to scale on this map, in other words, all the little mountains, when this map's laid out, do actually poke up out of the ground or the table that the map's laid on to represent how high they would be at scale on this table. And you ran your hand over that, like Neil deGrasse Tyson's description of the ball, it would be perfectly smooth. That is to say, it would be perfectly flat. Thank you, Brian. Worthy addition. I was going to get annoyed with you, but I'm not going to. Let's move on.
Well,
Any
see,
scientific...
that's even...
Oh, he's got more. He's got more.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I have more, yeah. Just a small
Well, I
bit more
was
after
just going to
John.
say that's a red herring. Yeah, I was just going to say that's a red herring because mean sea level is perfectly smooth and flat. That is what you are referencing when you talk about differing sea levels is in reference to mean sea level.
In trouble.
So it is perfectly smooth
no,
and
it
flat. It is
isn't.
a red herring.
You've given your own disclaimer that it does your own argument. What does mean mean? Oh, that's a terrible question.
It's the average. It's the average of sea levels.
It's an average, perfect.
That number that you come to after the average, yes.
That's just a number that you've come to after the average. How can you tell me that that is something perfectly flat with reference to Earth? It isn't. You can't have that standard, especially when you throw in the disclaimer of mean sea level.
It is perfectly flat.
Yeah, the reference you come to after measuring. Let me just get to the end. After you measure all these different points and then average them, you say that the plane it creates overall to reference is perfectly flat. Yeah, that's true. But what you've then created is a methodology, not a concept. I can't think of the right word. You've
It's contradictory.
It is contradictory.
No, it's not.
Yes,
no,
it
it's
is.
not. Because
I understand.
Hold on a sec. If I measure 20 planes, right, that I reference as sea level, and those 20 planes come to a set point of a vertical datum, when you add them all together and divide by the number that you used, and you use that line conceptually to measure altitude from, it is a constant, it is smooth, it is perfectly flat.
Yes, that is just correct. Let me just answer him. Yes, that's correct. But what you've created is a convention. And that isn't the ground anymore. The points you measured were to average.
Right. And when you say that the table is smooth, the undulations you're going to describe at the microscopic level are within that convention of smoothness you have just described.
Correct.
So is it
Perfectly
higher
correct.
or
Yes.
lower?
Yes, that's correct also.
Right.
But strictly speaking, while I say with using, as Brian described very well when he described the synonyms, how smooth something is a description of touch. Would you not agree?
Well, then that word is incorrect when you're describing the world.
No, it is. It is when I run my hands over a scale model of it, and it's no longer the ground either. Yeah, we're one step.
So when you run your hand over
John, hold on, Brian. I will come to you. I'll come back to you. I promise. Go ahead, John.
So when you run your hand over a map, it is perfectly flat. Yes, I agree.
Yep. But to say that is the ground is a reification fallacy. We're one step away from that. We're right on the edge because we're using it to describe these conventions and how they reference the world and how that derivative reference to the ground is definitely not sphere-shaped, but we're right on the edge of reification. Now, often we'll get accused of said reification by people like Bev, and that's why we're discussing this. We've gone on to it. We haven't got onto gravity because of it, which is fine. But we have to skirt the line of reification without stepping over it. And it's not often you don't get high praise. But to say that that is perfectly flat and therefore tie it to how the ground is perfectly flat, Bev would have you for that, John.
No, I ain't saying the ground is perfectly flat. I'm saying the baseline that you will measure the ground against is perfectly flat.
Agreed.
They will not have it for that.
Yeah, agreed. Go ahead, Brian.
And you can define that. If you were going to conceptualize it as being a giant, that would be perfectly smooth.
Yeah, if you were to, correct, if you were to conceptualize it. But the conceptualization of the ground is not the ground. But overall, it doesn't change me being able to say with absolute confidence, Earth's flat, the ground's flat. And they go, oh, there's mountains. Yeah, you're a Dumbo. Earth's flat. That's what I'd say in the most simplistic of terms. And when you go on to exemplify your understanding of this between you and Brian, I do have nothing but commendation for both of you. This will be cementing these principles in the mind's eye of the audience. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, there's a problem. You're after doing it, and I have to say to you, I'm sorry, but you've both done it. The very thing that people keep doing, and Bev does it himself to himself, is that you're going on to try and prove or claim a horizontal plane. You're not claiming it's horizontal. Horizontal is just its orientation, right? You're claiming You're claiming the Earth is flat, right? Flat is a description. Horizontal and the word plane are not descriptive. They are actually geometric. I know they can be used descriptively, but they're an actual geometric term. Flat is not. Flat is a description. So you don't have to defend anything unless somebody can prove that the use of the term flat is not a correct description for the overall of the Earth. And until someone can do that, because I've heard people say it's a topographical plane, that's a complete contradiction. Because to say it's a topographical plane is saying that it's a plane that has topography, but that's not as good a description as just saying flat. Flat is the best description. It's not a geometric claim, it's a description. The same way as you describe something as being round, but it may not be perfectly round, but it's not oblate, it's not a spheroid.
I got you.
It's more round than
I totally get you. Back to the map example, but even more crude. When you take a map that's rolled up and someone says, go and get that map and unroll it flat. So you get the map, you unroll it, and you put it on the table, and it curls up at the end. So you get two bits of weight and put them on the end, right? Now, realistically, in the middle of the map, because when you put the weights down, it wasn't stretched flat. It's all rumpled up in the middle. Now, is anybody going to turn around and go, that map's globe-shaped? You're like, what? What are you talking about? No, it's not perfectly flat, but it's flat. That's the best way I can describe what I wanted to achieve, so I could look at it and lay things on it and stuff. Now, the fact that when I put the weights down, it wasn't perfectly stretched flat means that if I lay something on top of it now, I might crease the map. Now, when I then roll it back up and unroll it next time I use it, and that crease is still there, lifting part of it and lowering another part of it, Am I going to say it's not rolled out flat? Yeah? What is it? Being pedantic? That's all we're dealing with. When we deal with someone like Bev over this matter, it's called being pedantic.
Well, what will happen is that if you start trying to geometrically have an argument when he says to you the Earth is not flat, or elevation changes exist, and you start trying to talk about anything else but flat as a description, you lose. He's going to have you immediately because you will end up having to agree to what he says.
So where people utilize what should not be utilized as a geometric term, but instead, as you keep reiterating, just a description. I'm just describing how furry it is. Well, furry is not a geometric term. Well, the next thing you know, you've been screwed because you've used the word furry. I'm using furry to reiterate the fact that flat is just a descriptive term. Whereas if you're going to use it as a geometric term, you're going to have your ass handed to you by somebody who knows geometry better than you do. Is that what you're saying? I assume it is, Brian.
Yeah. Yes, because you're going to start trying to defend flat as if it's a geometric claim.
Gotcha.
And that's going to make you look stupid because then you're trying to claim, literally what you would be trying to claim if Bev was there, is that elevation changes don't exist. And they do exist, so you're wrong.
Gotcha. Perfect. That was the conclusion. Unless John's got something to add, which will lead me to say, if there's 70 watching, somebody shared the show, so thank you very much for smashing the share button. If you haven't done so already, you're probably one of the people who clicked on a shared link. So please share the show also. Be nice to get it to 100 people. Last week, it was a struggle to even get close to 100 people watching. This week, let's see if we can get over it. Anyway, let's move on. We've done, 2 housekeeping questions, which is normally all we get through these days before we segue onto the video that we've been covering for a few days now, because it's reasonably lengthy. It's definitely not 15 minutes. Can anyone remember the timestamp we got to, or what we were looking at when it was when we were doing it?
Well, it was around the point where when they were arguing about Rehulf was trying to make the horizon a globe again. When after he had said that, remember he said, it's just, it can't be resolved. It's not as if it's going over Earth core. It's just after that where he's trying to look for the guy, trying to disprove that the guy is at 5 foot elevation height for his camera. And he's trying to now not use angular size by claiming the guy on the beach is 6 foot tall, blah, blah, blah. It's around that point. You see where Rehulf has a little kind of photo where he has little measurements and the horizon is above the person and you're looking up to the horizon. Remember that part?
I'm actually on a long video. I've clicked on my own shared link of the debate that we did critiquing it last week. So I'm just going to have to see if I can scroll my way back up through Skype to find the link to Jaron's video, unless somebody has it to hand, which is unlikely in a pinch. Anyway, the other thing we're going to do, maybe tomorrow, if we get through this today, is Flatsoid did a debate, I believe yesterday, and he dropped me a line on Skype basically saying, can you cover it? So, yes, I'm happy to. Oh, it's the same. I've clicked the same link. Damn it. Well, I'll keep looking. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to cover Flatsoid's video. So if you want to follow along, we will, or I will, because I'm not going to watch it in the meantime. I simply won't get a chance. We'll be covering it as we see it, so to speak. So we'll cover it like we do with these, or this one, if I could ever find it, live. So I'm not going to watch Flatsoid's video, but I do encourage that anybody who wants to follow along, so they can say, I know what's coming, I wonder how I'll react to this, or I wonder what Brian will say when he says this part, then I'd suggest you check it out in the meantime, because we'll probably be covering it tomorrow. So that's on Flatsoid FE. I think that's still the name of the channel, unless anybody corrects me. And it was yesterday's debate video that he did. I think it's this video. Let's just see if I can bring this one up just so I can actually do a proper plug for it. If not, this will be the link that goes out so Flatsoid gets a proper shout while I'm actually promoting him. So this link's going to go by while I'm looking for the Debatism video.
It's in there, Master B. I put it back in Master B. I don't have a timestamp on it, but I put it back in Master B.
Oh, well, perfect. Yeah. So while I'm queuing that up, I can encourage people to go and give Flatsoid's video a like. Like I say, we'll be covering that tomorrow. So yeah, go and check out Flatsoid's video. And hopefully this will actually queue up to the time that we got to. No, it's the same link. Brian. Brian.
The one I put in is Nick Quinn versus Rivit.
Yeah, that's my video covering Jaron's video. That's why it says FED 1984 on it.
And do you not have the link in that, linked in the description of that video?
No, someone else will have given it out during the show. I mean, short of
All right, sorry.
Ugh.
All right, then.
I've got 4 copies of my own video. It's because I put, presumably, FED 1984 after show onto Jaron's thumbnail because I'm lazy, or I've done it while I'm live. so now it's confusing, and I've done it 3 times. You've done it 3 times. Well, there we go. We may never get to this bloody video. We're just going to repeatedly look at 1984 FED. Go ahead.
It's in there now, Nathan. It's in there now.
Is it? But is it? I mean, is it?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Thank God. Okay, now hopefully a few people have come back since going to Flatzoids. Let's just round out that proper shout, right? In the chat right now, you can see it going by on the live stream chat now, is Flatzoid's video that we're going to be covering tomorrow. So click on that, go and check out Flatzoid, let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. So that's that link out of the way. This video we've covered previously over the last couple of days because it's a fairly long video. It's not your typical 15-minute video that I will get doled out to 10th Man. Our prayers are with you, 10th Man. Shout out to you. He's going through trauma at the moment with his family. Not that I'm going to give any details out, but he's not having a good time of it. And our prayers are with him for certain. Anyway, this particular video, being lengthy, has taken us several days to cover, but we do not train to time, we train to standards. So we will cover it regardless if it takes us a little bit longer. And the link to that is now going by in the live stream chat also. So as you can see now, perfect timing as Flatzoids is off the screen. There's a link to Jaronism's channel. So please go right now. Like, if you're live, 72 people watching. Someone else must have shared. Thank you for sharing the show. Please smash the share button if you haven't done so already. Go to his video right now and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Hopefully, Jaron will do a response someday and share the algorithmic love we're sharing with him now by getting people to go and give him a view and give him a comment, and do the same for me. Put a link to my video. Like anybody else we cover, chance would be a fine thing. But that's the intention. So hopefully we'll get a response out of somebody someday, and they'll put a link to our video, and it'll help us in the algorithm where YouTube offer us no love whatsoever. That's enough of my plug. Hopefully that's given enough time for people to go off to him and leave him a comment and then come back, so they haven't missed any of the live critiquing that we're going to be doing now. Let's see, we're at the 25-minute mark. I'm assuming that's where we got to. Please let me know if this is like skipped on or skipped back.
Not due to curvature.
Yeah, I remember covering this already.
People almost look as big as the boat.
Okay, that's your.
I'm always looking for new ways to expand people's perspective of the world.
Adds immediately. Okay, I think this is roughly where we got to.
When you zoom back,
I got another one. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll do it back and forth. That's fine.
Yeah. Sorry.
When you zoom back out from this, the boat isn't disappearing; it's just no longer resolvable. So you can't make it out. It hasn't gone. When you zoom back out, it's not like it's gone over the curve.
Well, that was a fine coincidence that we happened to get that bit in on this show. That's right, Rufy. Hashtag shit shrinks. No, we definitely covered this already.
Yeah, that's exemplified in the flat Earth resolution loss curve calculator that he thinks is an Earth curve calculator.
Indeed, he did.
Yeah, that's exactly what that's describing over here.
Atmospheric compression.
Okay. All right. I'll move on a little bit. 1 second. So observer height 5 feet. So this, when you zoom back out, there are some people walking along the beach.
Yeah, we covered this.
You over the
5 feet.
And you're
It
all right. So this is trying to do celestial navigation on a flat Earth.
Here we go.
And basically your observer's here looking up at the star. He takes an elevation angle. And at the moment, that's, we'll say 30 degrees.
You're going to need
and
a
that
flat
makes
Earth.
his... Say again?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Uh-oh.
So did Jaron just attempt to throw out the argument and then bottle it?
No, he attempted to berate you. That's what he did.
No. I heard you're going to need a flat Earth for that. Let's just read that again.
That's an attack on you.
No, that's the argument. What are you talking about, attack on me? He will need a flat Earth for that. That is the argument. It sounded to me like... Hello. Hear it once from me. It sounded to me like he threw out the argument in the middle of someone else's statement and then decided to not back it. That is to say, bottled it. Let's hear it again. 1 second, everybody.
Angle. And at the moment, that's, we'll say 30 degrees.
You're going to need a flat
Earth. And that makes his... Say again?
Nothing. Go ahead.
You throw out the argument. That's the end of this discussion. Angle, it's on screen. You can see it. With reference to the what? Horizontal line he's got drawn. Yeah, that's going to need a flat Earth. That's correct. But he hasn't backed it, which tells me either he doesn't understand it fully or just hasn't got the confidence to argue it. In either event, he shouldn't be. He's the moderator. But he's correct. You will need a flat Earth for that. Right. Go ahead.
But that's just a statement of fact. That's just a statement of fact.
Right.
That's all that is. That's not an argument. He should have been fine in saying it. I don't know why he would baffle a statement of fact.
Yeah, Brian. Or anybody else that wanted to get a word in. Or don't.
And this makes the co-altitude, so the zenith angle, 60 degrees. All right, and to work...
I'll say it there as well. You're going to need a flat Earth for that.
Look at how far away you are over the ground.
How far you are away over the, flat reference to the ground? That's where Brian would say if someone would get one over on me. The horizontal reference plane that you'll be utilising with respect to the ground. Yeah, flat. You're going to need a flat Earth for this.
From the ground position. So here's...
GP, ground position. Now, maybe Jaren will pipe up and say, no, that ground position needs to be out in space on a tangent like Toon told me. Let's see if Jaren pipes up for this.
Here's where the star is overhead. And here's where you are. To work out how far away you are in celestial navigation, you multiply that by 60 nautical miles. So that's 3,600 nautical miles. All right, so we've got...
On a flat plane.
One leg. This is for flat Earth, right? We've got one leg of a triangle.
Yeah, this is all in reference to a flat plane, even Rufy saying it. This is how it's done.
We've got a right angle.
Right, but he just introduced the triangle, which means he's getting ready to invoke the height of the star to prove that the Earth isn't flat using the angle from the star at that fixed height.
How does he get the angle to the star?
Off a flat plane.
So he's saying, I'm going to use a measurement off a flat plane to the angle and then say that it's not possible on a flat plane. We couldn't have got the angle unless it was a flat plane. This is stupid.
Right. But he's going to use a principle of trigonometry, which celestial navigation is not, to try to apply it to the angle you just took to create a triangle to the star.
I see. Gotcha.
Yeah.
We had this discussion in one of the pre-shows. I was listening Friday night. We were arguing with someone in the Discord panel about not calling it celestial navigation when it's trig and vice versa. And the person, I can't remember who it was like, well, I just like calling it trig because, and I think it was Adam critiquing the guy saying, no, celestial navigation is celestial navigation. It is an in of itself process that you will perform that has things in commonality or whatever the word is with trig. But it isn't trig. That's something else. This is celestial navigation. Now, what you're saying is, have you seen this already, John?
No, I just know the trick. I did it in my kitchen. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I know the trick.
Well, no, that's good because it means I can just go through it again in preemptive nature so that when he says it, you can have the props and I can say you called it.
We all go there, don't they?
Hold on, we've got one deck rumpus in you. Hold that thought, John. Go ahead, one deck.
I was just saying they all go down this road. Dave Triangles McKeegan went down this road, trying to bring out that we want to know the heights of the luminary when we're not doing anything like that in the first place. We don't need to.
Okay, I mean, you're maybe stealing John's thunder. I don't know what part of it you're stealing, but what you're saying is when your celestial navigation processes specifically with reference to the ground position as detailed a moment ago by Ruhif, then what you're trying to achieve is in regards to ground positions, not heights of stars. Now, again, I will reiterate that there's a good chance you've just stolen a bit of John's thunder, but we will play this section, and then John will, after he's going to give his prediction so we can get props if he's right, which he probably will be. Go ahead, John.
What he's going to do is use a trigonometric function to give an actual height to the star. He's going to then change the position of measurement and show that the star is at a different height, which would not be and then he'll make the statement that wouldn't be possible on a flat plane.
And we've got an angle. So we can work out how high the star is just using simple trigonometry.
Called it. He started off by saying celestial navigation, and now we've moved on to trig, after getting angles from a flat plane. As Jaron pointed out, you're going to need a flat plane for that.
Cool. But if with this elevation angle of 30 degrees.
That you needed a flat plane to acquire. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't come in earlier. I missed you just before you press play again.
Don't worry.
What Ruhif is talking about here is what they do on the globe and call it parallax. They don't do it on the globe. The point is they use that exact process when they're dealing with parallax, giving them a distance to a celestial body. That's the exact process they're using, and they're using a horizontal plane.
Yes.
So they're trying to land us with this nonsense that they do, and try and somehow debunk us with the very thing that they actually do.
Well, their parallax has two problems, doesn't it? It comes with an assumed orbital movement to take the differences, and it comes with a flat plane measurement in the first place. Parallax requires a flat plane measurement. Facts.
Twice. Because it requires it for the measurement and it requires it for the orbital.
Oh, beautiful. I missed that. Sorry, I always peg it as an assumption. It's usually John driving by me in a Lamborghini. Yes, that's right. The orbital assumption will also require a flat plane. Kudos, kudos. Okay, so that didn't take long. We'll continue anyway.
We work out the star is 2,078 nautical miles up. All right, but if I move closer or further away from that star, but I have to maintain that 60 nautical miles per degree, then the star physically has to be a different height. Okay, this is why it doesn't work on flat Earth.
What? We don't assert any height. Yeah. It doesn't work on a globe when utilising celestial navigation because the physical height of the star would have to change, and that doesn't comport with your globe. It doesn't work on a flat Earth. Who's claiming the height? Oh, you gave us the height you say it comes out to when you use the trig to derive the height on a flat plane, and then tell us how your measurement you made, which could only be done for both flat. Oh, it can't be done for globe. You couldn't have got the angle. Nevertheless, that straw man height you gave says fails? You say it fails? Why'd you give it us then? Nobody else claimed it. Your opponent certainly didn't. He's not claiming height of stars proves flat Earth. It's just a, what's the word? Oh yeah, straw man. Go ahead, whoever was trying to get a word in.
Yeah, this very claim, I have video from a couple of the main ballers from some years ago, where they were trying to say that over a horizontal plane, that Polaris has to be 3,000 miles high. I don't know, 3,000 nautical miles, I don't know, based off of two angles from 45 degrees north. Right, on a horizontal plane. They explained
say the last bit again, just so the audience follows what you're saying, because that's the most critical bit.
Yeah, based on two angles from 45 degrees north, that they were claiming that Polaris must be 3,000 nautical miles high above a flat plane. That means to measure the angles, they have to pre-assume it's flat. And they're using the latitude and longitude grid, which is a grid that's measured flat.
What they then do is take the exact same angles that they've said don't work on a flat Earth to give you a height you don't claim, and then they don't tell you that, well, those angles won't be measurable when you're on a sphere anymore, but we'll still use the same angles to imply that we've got parallax, or orbital motion or whatever they need to infer with these flat plane measurements.
Exactly. And the worst thing is that they spent years promoting this rubbish. Now, I told them you can't do that because as soon as you move to the 46th degree or the 44th degree parallel, you'll get a different angle. And it wasn't until I really reiterated, I really drove it home. I think I made a video or something, but I drove it home. And after I drove it home, suddenly they all changed their tune and started using what was a defense to their rubbish claim as an attack on us, supposedly. So they're using a defense to one of their rubbish claims. Someone on our side, which was me, pointing out to them how what they're saying is geometrically not possible. They use that now as an attack on us somehow. So they're basically taking something that was a rebuttal to them as suddenly an attack on us. That's what they're actually doing.
It's always been a part of their rhetoric to claim that it's not a flat plane. That's how I was able to call it exactly how it would be done. I've heard myself saying it before when I was a baller.
Yeah.
That's just how the rhetoric works. They confuse triangulation with celestial navigation, and they jump back and forth. And if you don't catch it, it's all to take you away from the angle you just measured off a flat plane.
So did we. If you go back maybe 100 shows, and we're first discussing this, none of us have got the terminology right. So we'll be saying trigonometry when we mean celestial navigation, and vice versa. And often it's what's the other one? Trilateration, when you're measuring distances. It's like we will have called that triangulation, and we will have called a version of it celestial navigation, and all sorts of verbal mistakes that we're making because we've only just come across the information. Not come across it, but we're just getting the terminology slightly wrong. And now people may be unaware of this, that we discuss things after the show, and it did come up. I can't remember how long ago, maybe 6 months or more. And at some point someone stepped in and went, it was probably Quantum Eraser, I have no doubt, in fact, and said, no, you've got to start getting these terminologies right. You can't keep saying trig when you mean celestial navigation, because eventually it'll get down to that fine detail and someone will win an argument with it because you've got the terminology wrong. Don't keep saying trig. Now, it was heartwarming because, those conversations that we have, not necessarily behind the scenes, it might have been on a live show for all I remember, come to fruition when someone like Adam, only last week, has had exactly the same conversation with someone on the Discord server. Don't call it trig. But it is trig, isn't it? No, it isn't. It's celestial navigation.
The reason our terminology was wrong, though, is because the citations terminology is wrong. If you go through celestial navigation, they'll do the same thing in the books that we were doing.
Right.
We were the ones that siphoned through it. So I don't think you can hold that against us. And I'm not trying to hold it against Ruhith. I'm just saying that is the rhetoric, and that he followed the formula. Absolutely.
And I'm not trying to fault anybody. I mean, you've got to go through the mill, or whatever you call it, the term. You got to do to see how this crap unfolds. So, like earlier in the show, when Arwin starts phrasing things in a way because he's trying to make it work globally, and we're bracing against it and picking it apart, that's a beautiful balance. But in this instance, it's not some balance. It's just that when you find some Joe Normie, who's not some globe-believing asshole, he's just some guy who's writing about celestial navigation and confusing the terminology. And we read that and we do the same. Now, regardless of whether that guy's done it because it puts a globe skew on it, which might be the case, just unlikely, that guy, when he's wrote it, is on a globe. He's a globe believer. He's part of the Western world culture, and therefore that's his religion, whether he knows it or not. Unlikely that he does know it's his religion. He's just adhering to it because that's what he's doing. Therefore, when you get these terminology errors that ultimately, in a fine point debate about the nature of existence when it comes to geography, geology, celestial navigation, and maths, specifically trig, you do need to get your terminology right. That may not seem important when you're just up against some noob, but when you come against somebody that's seemingly knowing their stuff, and they call you on one descriptive term that's been used geometrically, they suddenly win, just because you didn't realise that, for Brian's sake of example, flat's just a description, perfectly accurate one. and you've used it when describing part of the topology of the land in a geometric term, suddenly you're losing a debate because of that. Well, yeah, that's life. Get used to it. We're at the tip of the spear. But I mean, in order for Brian, John, Arwin, and myself in this instance to concisely summarise these things, we've had to be battle-scarred and battle-hardened and go through it. Or in John's instance, for the majority of his now capable of rendition description, doing it as a baller himself. You know, hopefully everyone takes the value. I mean, there's 80 people watching still, so that's got to be good. Please share the show. It's a good one, going through the nitty-gritty of how we all get onto a ball just through the very language. Without even trying, you can keep yourself on a ball. It's amazing. Go ahead, Brian.
But, yeah, I just want to say, people have said, I think Huey said, that it's not triangulation either. But if you have a mobile phone, and they're going to triangulate your position with your mobile phone using 3 cell towers, then they're using your position in relation to these 3 cell towers, which are around you at
It's
a radius.
trilateration.
No, that's not trilateration. That's triangulation using cell towers. Trilateration involves straight lines. There is no reference to trilateration actually being in existence in reality outside of a claim of a globe with satellites, right? And I've debunked that.
But the principle that they describe in... Hold on. Let me
Yeah.
get my confusion right then. Because the principle that is described for those satellites is the same as you would describe for the cell towers. But they call it trilateration when it's for satellites as opposed to cell towers. But the description's the same, is it not?
No, because what the claim is concerning satellites is that there is microwaves, which is microwaves would be like an invisible... The best way to describe them, so for people mentally who don't know, would be like an invisible laser. So it's like a straight line, where cell towers aren't using microwaves. The claim is that satellites are using microwaves. And these straight line distances that are calculated via the two-way speed of light calculation, right, supposedly tell the receiver where it is. Now, that's wrong. Even if we lived on a globe, that wouldn't work. None of it works. But that's beside the point. The point is that trilateration, that's the only example I know of where they're claiming such a thing as trilateration. Because you could be used if you know an exact distance to someone, but you can't be used for navigation, let's just say, right? But triangulation is different. They're not using microwaves. They're using lower frequency waves than microwaves. So they're using a bounce timing thing rather than giving a receiver a time based off of a signal that's sent one way. See, trilateration, if you're thinking about satellites, it's a one-way signal. There's no bounce coming back. It's only the receiver receives, the sender sends, the receiver receives. There's no information going back to the sender, back to the satellite. That's not happening. Whereas triangulation, there is information coming back based off of a bounce. So they're using bounce timing to determine where you are, where your mobile phone is in relation to these 3 towers, right? Now, if you take those 3 circles of equal altitude and where they intersect, you take the center of those 3 circles and you draw a straight line between those centers, then that creates a triangle, and you are then at the center of wherever that triangle. You're at the middle of that triangle, basically.
And with that, I'm going to...
Altitude. You could use trilateration with known distances of radar bounces, but even in that,
but once you use the bounce, you're using trilateration. Sorry.
Right, trilateration.
I mean triangulation. Sorry. Once there's a bounce, you're using triangulation. It's a different thing.
No, you can't get the altitude like that with triangulation. That would be trilateration.
But radar. But once you're using a bounce signal, you're using triangulation. That's not trilateration. That's the point. Trilateration is in one direction. And it's the only way to use what they call trilateration. The only possible way for it to be possible and used in reality would be satellites over a horizontal plane. That would be the only way, because you then need to use, and even at that, I don't think it's possible, because you need 2 angles, whereas you're only getting one angle, which is the angle to where the satellite is in the sky. Do you know what I mean? You need 2 angles to calculate that triangle.
But you're using radar and using that to fix the altitude over a flat plane. That would be trilateration because you're using known distances. I mean,
not really, no, because even what I said there is going outside the bounds of. Not really, because what I said there is even going outside the bounds of trilateration. You shouldn't need triangles or anything else. You should only need one signal that goes to a receiver. There's no bounce back. There's none of that, and that's what trilateration actually is.
Well, that's the line you would draw afterwards. The bounce back would give you the distance of the line you would use to establish its altitude over the flat plane.
But that's not how trilateration is claimed to work. It's claimed to be the signal sends the information to the receiver. The receiver receives the information by the time the signal was sent, and the receiver then determines the distance to that satellite, straight line distance, because of the information it got off the satellite.
Right, the straight line distance is established with the radar bounce, and then you use that.
No,
trilateration would find the position of the plane above the horizontal plane of reference that you need in any respect.
But no, because once you're using a bounce, then you're going into the realms of triangulation. The whole point of trilateration, the whole point of trilateration, the only place it's actually claimed to be used in reality is with satellites.
Yeah, I don't know where you're getting the bounce is triangulation. Triangulation is where you use triangles.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You're using a bounce between you're bouncing a signal off of something that's between several sending sources. That's triangulation. Where, let's say, 3 cell towers bouncing a signal off my cell phone will triangulate my position. But that's not trilateration.
But it won't give you your altitude. That's what I'm talking about. That's where you need trilateration.
Yeah, but see, there you go. That's the thing about it. That's what kills GPS, is the official claims concerning GPS. Because if I have, let me go through it. Let's just say I have a cold start. I just turned on my receiver, right? I'm in the mountains somewhere, right? The last time I had my receiver on, I was in a different country. I turn it on, and the receiver has to gain its location. According to official sources, it gains information from 4 satellites. Right? It gains information of where those satellites are in the sky in relation to it. So it's the azimuth, right? Let's just say, and an angle to the satellites. And it gains information about the time the signal was sent, right? So the receiver can determine its distance via the time the signal was sent and the time it's received, can determine its straight line distance to that point in the sky when the signal was sent. But all that gives you is the signal distances to 4 random points in the sky. Right? That will not, even over a horizontal plane, that will not work to give you the receiver its actual location. Because each one of those satellites, let's just use a globe, has a subpoint, which is the point on the surface directly underneath it. Now, the problem is that the receiver needs to know its distance from the subpoints. But that's not going to equal that hypotenuse, or that the length that between them and the satellite, right? What they need is a second angle that they don't have and can't get. So the receiver can't determine its distance from these 4 or more subpoints. So it can't determine where it is. So that whole system falls apart. It doesn't work. It logically is impossible.
I don't know about that. But
honestly,
I mean, it's a non sequitur to my point because you went to satellites. I wasn't claiming satellites and trilateration.
Yeah, but you're talking about trilateration. Yeah, but you were talking about trilateration. That's what my point is that when they bring up the term trilateration, the only actual example they can really actually give you is satellites. But their system couldn't work. Not just it doesn't work. It couldn't work even if we were on a globe. That's the point.
Well, I was trying to give you an actual example, but you went to satellites because I was using radar and establishing.
Yeah, but radar, you can't do trilateration with radar. It doesn't have final frequencies.
if I can't get to my point, it's fine, whatever.
No, go ahead. I know what you're saying. You say what you're going to say, and then I'll give you my critique afterwards.
All right, I'll try it one more time. I'm not going to keep doing it. Right. With triangulation, you are not going to fix the altitude of a plane. All it can do is give you the position on the plane of reference. You're not going to fix the altitude with triangulation. But you can, using radar, establish where a plane is in 3D space using radar. And that's trilateration. All three of which was my main point, require a plane of reference.
Yes, you do need a plane of reference, but when you're talking about a bounce, then you're not dealing with trilateration. That's
Why?
the thing. Because the trilateration is supposed to be giving the receiver of the information, giving it the information. There's no reason for a bounce back. The bounce back is when you're going into the realms of triangulation.
Trilateration just uses lines, right? Define trilateration.
Yeah, but so does triangulation. It's just using a straight line distance, and eventually it's calculating a straight line distance. That's the whole point. But the way it goes about it is through bounce.
Okay, so if it's just a straight line distance, then the way you calculate that straight line distance is irrelevant to what process you're actually using.
Alrighty then. Glad we got to the end of that. Thank you, John.
We did and we didn't. I don't want to continue it on.
Yeah, but the main point I was wanting to make, though, is all three of the descriptions of triangulation, trilateration, and celestial navigation plane of reference.
Yeah.
Well,
in the argument about them, it's irrelevant. You need a plane of reference for that.
Well, my argument isn't against what you're saying about the need of our plane of reference to do navigation. My argument is that trilateration doesn't actually exist as a form of navigation, that it doesn't work. I can find triangulation, lots of that, but I can't find trilateration because the only reference I can get for trilateration is satellites. And as I said, logically, even if we lived on a globe, how they claim satellites work and GPS works via satellites couldn't work. It wouldn't work.
I don't even know how you get to a globe with planes of reference, but I can't even conceptualize the globe anymore.
John, you sound like you're in a nursery school or something. There's so many kids there.
But I basically am. That's my house all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, try arguing with a globe head while you got like 5 kids around screaming at the same time. It's a bit frustrating.
I'll tell you, I won't be able to do it.
Well, it's helped me with patience, because my kids listen better than they do. So,
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah. It's still 5 kids. I mean, to be looking at the 5 kids and being able to still talk calmly, you're doing pretty well. Do you have a direct line to a Valium or? Because that's what I need. I won't be able to do it. I'd have to lock them in a room and lock the door and stand outside and just look at them through a camera. I won't be able to deal with it.
Well, what I usually do is I try to run away to make a comment, and then I'll walk back when I get done. It doesn't always work, though. How's your computer doing, Nathan?
Yeah, good. I had to mess around with it all weekend, of course, but It's good. I messed around with it for a couple of hours, so that's good.
Do you want to go back and do more on the video, Nathan? Because we've only got started on it.
Yeah, we can do in a minute. I'm just making a thumbnail at a minute for the show. Got a Lamborghini in it, so I'm concentrating.
Yeah, I can't believe Jaron, like, he was there. He was right there at it. All he had to do was reach out and take it, and the entire discussion would have stopped.
Yeah, but I think he was only goading. I think he was only mocking us, mocking Nathan. That's what I think he was. QE said the same.
Or whatever. Offering up the winning argument, but not having the balls to actually follow through by going, you need a flat earth for that. What? Oh, nothing. Well, if you say so. Nothing or the winning argument.
Yeah, like it doesn't you know, if you know what their claims are going to be, they're always going to utilize it. They have to. You know, all you got to do is point it out. You know,
Also-
like he just did. Like what?
Also telling.
I don't know.
You know what it tells me?
Frustrating.
It tells me Jaron watches the show. That's what it tells me.
Yes, I thought of that myself. He must be watching the show if he knows about that, because that's really only in recent months, isn't it? The use of that.
Right. Good to have you here, Jaron. Thanks for your view.
Well, he said that it was people in his comments pointing out that he's not exposing that they're using plane of reference, and that he was getting sick and tired of people saying it. Was it in reference to that?
No, I'd say he's listening to it, or it's either way it was done in sarcasm. It wasn't done with the intent to actually argue. He couldn't as a moderator, but it still wasn't done that way, because I doubt he's listening to people in his comments. I'd say that people are trying to politely tell him, like, you're wrong, and he's just not willing to accept it. Oh, that's what I reckon myself. And I doubt I'll be wrong about that.
Yeah, but in that picture, he was using a plane of reference, right? There is no argument there. Well, what are you going to argue? You know?
Yeah, the horizon.
Right there, there's no argument. Like what? You're just pointing it out.
Sorry, Ruhif was using the horizon. Simon, I said that by accident. Ruhif was using the horizon to try and debunk a flat plane. It's like, Ruhif. Do you know what I mean? That's the horizon you're using.
Right. If I pointed a tree and say, "Hey, there's a tree," there's no argument to be had there. You know, if it's a tree, then it's just a tree. And anybody that tries to argue about it being a tree, you can just laugh at them. You know, like.
Well, how do I debunk the tree? By pointing to leaves that fell off it.
I don't know. Like it's just that's madness at that point. You know, like
yeah,
it's a statement of fact that you're using a plane of reference. You must use a plane of reference because you're going to invoke angles. That's all just statements of fact. There's no argument to be had in that.
Yeah, I think that our opposition are very good, especially in the moment of a debate, with hoodwinking you. You end up arguing with them about something, while looking straight past the very thing they're doing, which requires a flat plane. Like what Ruhif was doing there with the guy on the beach and the horizon above the guy on the beach, from the observer's perspective, he's talking about like the use of a flat plane. He's talking about angles to the top of the guy's head and then up to the horizon. Do you know what I mean? That's what he's talking about. He's talking about the use of a flat plane via angles, even within his own argument. And the horizon is horizontal. That's what we reference for horizontal. You know, I don't, but the problem with flat earthers is that we're too used to being on the back foot and trying to defend our positions and defend ourselves, not realizing we don't have to defend ourselves in a lot of these situations. Defense is not necessary. It's like we think we're, go on.
Right. Well, like when they say sea level's curving, okay. Well, I'll just accept that. But you can't then go and use an Earth curve calculator that uses level as a horizontal plane. You can't use dip angle, which uses eye level as a horizontal plane. You can't use, celestial navigation, orbital mechanics. You lose all of that when you try to assert level is curving. So yeah, okay, fine. Level's curving, then your entire paradigm is crap.
Yeah, it's true. Once you say level is curving, then the whole paradigm collapses because they require level to be horizontal within their paradigm. They require it. Like they require their equatorial plane to be a horizontal that's parallel to a claimed horizontal tangent that they'll claim to make. Do you know what I mean? At the oil line in celestial navigation. Do you know what I mean? This is what they'll do. So they'll claim the line at the oil line is a tangent that they're taking their angle from, and then that tangent plane is paralleled by an equatorial plane to the center of their globe, where there'll be another angle from. So if they're claiming level is curved, then that goes out the window.
Exactly, because your eye level's curving now. Okay, well, we can't get an angle from that to match to the equatorial plane. We're done. We're done here.
I'm a thumbnail.
Well, I do remember. You say something, Abe?
Like my thumbnail.
Ooh,
In Master B.
Oh, I'll have a look. 1 second.
Rufy standing next to a Lamborghini with a glum face, and Jaron from the corner with quote marks saying you will need a flat earth for that. Any thumbnail with a Lamborghini in is a good thumbnail. I'll have no words said otherwise.
I see it, yeah. You need a flat earth. the flat earth Lambo.
I would have liked to have heard Ruhit's response, though, for him using a flat plane to get his angles.
Well, yeah, what you mean is you would have preferred if Jaron was the one behind the wheel of the Lamborghini and literally mid-sentence in the case of this example for Jaron, but he could have waited till an appropriate moment when he finished and then gone, yeah, you're going to need a flat for that along Route 90. But he didn't. Therefore, we didn't get to see the response. Now, like with every point that we have to point out with Jaron, he's nearly there, right? Just have to take ownership of the argument. It doesn't matter that people are saying it to you in your comments. If you said it, it'd be your argument. You'd have won. You'd have taken out every little bit of win that was in Ruhif's sails. And then you could have gone, oh, nothing. Carry on. Just, you could have said the exact same words with a slightly different timbre and it would have had a very different meaning. And annihilated him. And then let the opponent newbie carry on, having had you destroy every little bit of his discussion, only to step back out of the argument. That would have been effective. That would have been you in the Lamborghini. But for some reason, you've gone, oh, there's a Lamborghini here, with the engine running, with the keys in, with a note on it saying, please drive, Jaron. And what's Jaron done? He's taken the keys out and thrown them over the bridge. What's that? Nothing. Yeah. Make sure I shut off this engine. Fucking noisy exhaust. That's what Jaron's done. Okay, he's seen the Lamborghini. He's read on the note. It says on it, you're going to need a flat earth for that. This car is yours to use. Quick, tear down the note, turn off the engine. Nothing, Ruhif, nothing. It wasn't the sound of a V10.
Well, I would see more of I would like more of an analogy where Jaron is walking through a shopping mall and a load of people come up to him, a reporter, and a load of people with balloons and confetti and all this kind of stuff, and congratulations, and you've won the Lamborghini. And he just goes, nah, and walks on.
I was thinking it was like Ruhif sitting there claiming dogs don't exist, and Jaren's in the middle of a kennel telling the dogs to shut up and asking him to continue, you know?
Yes, that's the best one so far. Exactly. Look at my graph with a flat plane. Here's how I get the angles from the flat plane. Enter Jaren. You're going to need a flat plane for that. What's that, Jaren? Says Ruhif. Nothing akin to. Dogs don't exist. There are no dogs. Woof, 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 woof. What's that, Jaren? Shh, shh, shh. Nothing.
I like that you've just won a Lambo one, though. You've just
I like
won a
that too.
Lambo.
I must admit, I've got a fondness for yours because it had a Lambo in it.
Yeah, you just
I'll
won a
show you what it
Lambo.
does on the globe.
Nah.
About 30 seconds because I started.
Or I'll
we
take
started
a
early.
I'll take a 1 minute after.
Okay.
So on the globe, we're going to first set the stars.
Oh, really? You'll take a what now? I like how much of a bitch Jaren is to Ruhif. He'll do that, will he? Who's running this show? Clearly Ruhif. You total cook. He will take that, will he? See how that goes on with me when I'm actually keeping track of things.
Stars to be further away. The way that it works on a globe is your observer's here, takes an elevation
Sorry, way this works on a globe.
an angle of 30.
You don't take an elevation angle measurement from a globe. No, you don't do that. You see, the angle would be this line meeting this line. That's not a friggin' angle. What, are you nuts? Are you stupid? You geometrically illiterate? Do you not know what a basic bloody description of an angle is, Ruif? What is your malfunction? Let's just hear that statement again so I can berate you.
Okay.
So on the globe, we're going to first set the stars to be further away. The way that it works on a globe is your observer's here, takes an elevation angle of 30 degrees.
No, he doesn't. You are fundamentally idiotic, Ruhif. No, he doesn't. Because there is no acquisition of an angle from this curved surface, my friend. No. He does not do that. You are either mentally retarded, that would be stupid, or a liar. Now, given that you watch the show and we ask daily how you get an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline, for you to just say it is a bloody outrage. It is also a testament to why you aren't here, you abject coward. Right, Rufy? So this will definitely not get picked up on by Jaren. It absolutely, without question, will not get picked up on by his flat earth believing opponents. But it gets picked up on here, doesn't it, Jaren? Doesn't it, Rufy? Doesn't it, Nick? Yeah? Your failings are laid out bare here when Ruhif tries this lie on for size. Now, it'll fit here, right in on Jaren's show. It just wouldn't fit so comfortably here, would it, Ruhif? And that is why you're not here. What's that? It's because I've got a mute button and I shut you down. Yeah? No, definitely not. This is why. So Ruhif can tell you that this angle that he just had on screen being measured off a flat plane on a flat graph is now what, a bent line for one of the two straight lines that must meet at a vertex to call it an angle? No, Rufy, you'd get shouted at. That's why you don't want to be here, because your stupidity, actually bullshit lies, would get berated, wouldn't it, Ruhif? We'd make you feel like a tiny little turd, wouldn't we? Yeah? Now you don't have to be here for me to do that anyway, because you're on Jaren's putting this little trick down, aren't you? This, Ruhif, is not an angle. You are just thick, and we would be pointing that out here live or otherwise, you dumbass. No, it's not.
Again, that's a co-altitude or a zenith angle of
No, you'll need a flat earth for those.
60 degrees.
You'll need a flat earth for that.
We multiply that by
What, that flat earth elevation angle measurement that isn't what's on screen when you've got a curved baseline? You'll multiply that non-angle that you didn't measure off a curve. You just said this is how it works. On a no, it doesn't. This is not working. Because what you're describing in respect to the angle that you formerly had on a flat plane, only to say that don't work, well, this isn't an angle anymore, Ruhif. So this doesn't work. You see how we're pointing out how your religion fails, Rufy? And how your religion relies on a flat Earth? This must be very painful for you. Very painful indeed. Are your sleep patterns working out for you, Rufy? Sleep well? I do. Everyone on the panel at this particular moment, how well do you all sleep?
Fantastic. I almost can't get up in the morning.
Me too. It's a real struggle. I got kids. I sleep like a baby until one of the babies screams. Anybody else?
Well, whatever issues I ever have and if I'm sleeping, there's never because of this topic.
Me neither. After the show, I never give it much of a thought. I've got to be honest. It doesn't dwell. I don't dwell on it. It never burdens my life in any way, shape, or form. In fact, it's the furthest thing from stress in what is very stress-filled. My life is generally quite stressful. None of it is flat Earth related. In case you hadn't picked up what we're putting down here, Rufy, at the end, we're going to ask you to contemplate how your sleep patterns are and how much you dwell on this stuff. Right? When was your last message to Adam, I asked myself. Anybody else? How else is everyone else sleeping?
Yeah, we don't go to sleep like really trying to get that damn anti-flat earther out of our head that is haunting us. If only they weren't in our way, then we would make progress or something. No. No, actually, we have a bit of a chuckle thinking about anti-flat earthers right before we fall asleep.
I don't, but you speak for yourself.
We do that.
But yeah, you speak for yourself. I don't give any anti-flat earthers a second thought throughout the day. Oh, no, that's not true. One got a mention from my wife because one of them was trying to troll her. Or I brought it up. She mentioned that she'd got trolled and just deleted the profile that was trolling her, and then it wasn't a problem anymore. And I was like, oh, okay. That's it.
Wow, they have to throw your partner. You have to throw your wife.
That's why she brought it up. So I was discussing something about the show, and she was like, yeah, some of the anti-flat earthers, it's so much on their mind that they go out of their way to find me. I'm like, oh, right, okay. I was like, yeah, that's pretty sad. It's like, yeah, if they can't get to you, they'll try and get somebody in your family, and you're like, this is globe believers and how they behave. They want to go out, dox you, find your family. That's what they want to do. You're like, oh, you need that sleep, don't you? Yeah, the pain relief. You really want us to stop. Oh, bless. It must be so painful to hear me tell you how your claim requires a flat Earth, like Rufy's claim needs a flat Earth, and Jaren just about recognising it, just hasn't got a big enough set of balls to actually say it and stick to it. But we know, and we do have those balls. That's why we sleep like babies, because we know we're right, and we can prove it easily with your own argument, and how your own argument needs a flat Earth like this does on screen now. Absolutely, without question, requires the flat Earth that was disclaimed by Rufy when he measured the angle. Now he hasn't got an angle on screen. He's got a straight line meeting a curved one. That's not an angle. But like I say, Rufy's either just a deceitful shit or completely moronic. I mean, pick you on. There's only one of those two choices. It can't be a third because this isn't an angle. It's just that simple.
Well, the jumper...
Oh, sorry.
Well, quickly, just the jumper that he's wearing, the big comfortable, loose-fitting jumper that Rufy is wearing over on Jaren, that same jumper over here would be restricting his breathing and blood flow. Wouldn't it? If you didn't want to see it like that, it wouldn't be anyway comfortable. It'd be itchy and it'd be too hot. Everything it'd be not comfortable about it. Sorry, Arwen.
Yeah.
No, I was just actually going to change the subject slightly. Don't know if you guys are going to go with it, but did anybody watch the video that I posted about NASA's giant metal balls?
We're actually reviewing the video with Rufy and the guy Nick.
Arwen does not care. Dude, that's not what. That is not the question he asked you, Brian.
I know, yeah.
Right. So we're sorry. I didn't know we were still reviewing it. Sorry.
Now I'm. See, Brian, what you've caused. Yeah, put me between a rock and a hard place now, haven't you? Damn you! Right. Yesterday, last show, I was like, no, we're in the after show now. We'll wait. We'll do it live so you can see it. Now, Arwen doesn't even know where we are. He's come back from his coffee. We're still covering stuff. He's all confused. This is your fault, Brian.
Literally correct. Yes.
Bloody foreigners.
Hey, Nathan, just real quick, did you hear what me and Brian were talking about with horizontal boundary layers in the pre-show?
Yes.
Okay, because he's trying to assert level is curved in that depiction of a non-angle, right? He's trying to say the surface level is curving.
Yes.
Well, when he responds to how do you have gas pressure without a container, and he says, well, there's a density gradient that starts at sea level and is made up of horizontal boundary layers or vertical boundary layers of horizontal layers. He can't do that and say level is curving.
No. Almost any principle that he implies when he's describing anything, mathematically, full stop, will have those principles employed if he's using a language. So almost everything he says that's sphere-related will violate a principle mathematically when described, because he needs level to be curved. And he's just shown the bait and switch of where it happens. Here's it being measured off a flat plane. Here's an angle. Here's the angle we measure. It fails on a flat Earth because we don't get the height of the stars. Moving on. Here's a angle. It isn't really. Here's how it works on a globe. What?
Well, I've actually heard them claim that 2 different levels on beds. It wasn't recent, it was some time back, but they were claiming there's 2 different levels. There's the level that's created with a spirit level, like with a bubble sextant. Something they were claiming was creating a curve prior to the sextant argument. And then there's level that's equidistant with the center of their globe. So they're claiming 2 separate levels, just so you know. They're not just holding it to one. Level is different depending on the argument for them.
Okay, so they've spotted out that they have an equivocation in play. What do they do about it?
They just roll with it. Just roll with it.
Right. Anyway, let's save the rest of this video for tomorrow, because the reactions are too good to not have live.
Okay.
We're discussing stuff happily.
But there's still loads on the video.
Say again?
There's still loads on the video.
Okay. There is. You want a bit more, Brian?
Well, I'm just saying what will happen. Well, I don't mind talking, but I'm just saying that gives us a point, a focal point. You're not going to wait. We don't have a focal point without a video.
I mean, I can play a bit more if you want.
60 to get 3,600 nautical miles, which is the equivalent of 4,142 statute miles. This angle, because these 2 yellow...
You're going to need a flat Earth for that. Right, what I'm going to do from here is you shout, I will just pause, you will critique. Okay? How about that?
Well, okay.
Lines
at that exact point, I have a critique now already.
Go ahead.
He just claimed a flat plane when he laid out how many statute miles those nautical miles turned into, because statute miles are a horizontal straight line measurement. So if you're dealing with degrees, then there's 69.04 statute miles, right? Distance of 69.04 of a statute mile distance will change your angle by 1 degree, right? Whether it be closer or further from a celestial body, it changes it by 1 degree. That's 69.04 horizontal distances all meeting end to end, making one horizontal. Well, how they did that with Polaris is they determined how many statute miles would give them 1 degree of change, and then they divided that by 60. Now, whatever they did with Stadia before, it's the same thing. They would have had to work off a Stadia first and turn that into nautical miles. But the nautical mile, right, that we know of today, that's based off of statute miles, that is 1.1508 statute miles. That's 1.1508 of a horizontal distance. That's what it is. So when they're claiming 60 nautical miles proves a globe or something to do with the globe, that means they are completely forgetting or just simply don't understand the origins of it. It starts with actual real world measurements, which are statute miles. And so 60 nautical miles is 69.04 horizontal distances all meeting end to end. So it's a flat Earth proof. He's just proved the Earth is flat when he brought up both nautical and then really drove it home when he brought up statute miles.
This angle can be moved down to the center of the Earth and then is a straight line from the center of the Earth through the GP up to the star. All right, so this...
yeah, he's after just trying to invoke nautical miles again by bringing this angle down to the center of his globe. He's using a horizontal plane through the center of the globe and then trying to use a nautical mile measurement along the curve of a globe Earth. When what that actually is he's trying to measure minutes of degree across the sky. And he's using the arc scale, which is a circle. So he's reifying this arc scale circle into a supposed arc length of a globe. It's totally wrong. What he's doing there is referencing a horizontal plane at all times.
Yeah. Their mantra is kind of in a sphere, on a sphere, and they just jump back and forth between the two.
Yes.
This ratio of 60 nautical miles per degree only holds if the Earth is a globe and...
Nobody?
Don't exist.
Well, I was going to say degree that can only be measured on a flat plane.
Exactly, Nathan. Because it has to be measured with statute miles first, which is the actual unit of measurement, actual geometric measurement, the statute miles. 5,280 feet. That's a statute mile. So that has to be measured horizontally. So you're adding 69.04 of them together, end to end. That's 69.04 horizontal distances. That is then divided by 60. That gives you your 60 nautical miles. Nothing to do with a globe.
Right. So every time he says words to the effect of this is only possible on a globe, it's ignoring the fact that the angle he's describing can only be measured on a flat plane.
Stars are far away. If the stars are close, that ratio doesn't hold.
So it fails on a globe because of where you say they are in distance. This is how it actually fails. It fails for a globe for the distances to your stars. That's what it fails. That's how it fails.
They have to be far away.
Right. And if you're changing angles to them and it's bringing them closer to the ground and they're physical in your terminology, that wouldn't work. But that's exactly what they do when you measure your angles off a flat plane, proving Earth is flat. Sorry, Brian,
Well,
I'm
what he
doing
just
you
said
what I
there-
said I wouldn't. I can't help myself. I want to be testing voltage curves. I want to ask John a question about voltage curves. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, what he just said there is they have to be far away. How did he verify that? We don't know what they are. They just have to
let me
be
tell
what
you.
they are.
I'll tell you how.
You know what I mean?
He did. He went through it by saying, in false dichotomy, when I measure the angle, it fails on a flat Earth. Now, he didn't hold it up in false dichotomy, but it is being held up in false dichotomy when he says the angle's only possible measure off a flat Earth for the heights for my stars at my distances fail on a flat Earth. He doesn't summarise that in false dichotomy, therefore the angles work on a globe and give us the distances for a globe. He's then going on now to explain how it would fail for the heights when measuring off a flat plane, which all of these angles, which they are, will be. So all he's actually detailing is how the heights of his stars fail when you're measuring angles off a plane, and he is measuring angles off a plane.
Yes.
Cool. The end.
Okay, we've got a minute reply. Go ahead, Nick.
Okay, so when you say celestial navigation, you're talking about astro, right? Astro navigation, right?
Cool.
It's what it's called, right? So
Anyone? Just what?
Well, yeah, he's right. He's right. It is astro navigation. You're using the astrological bodies to navigate. So he's not wrong when he says that.
It says the man who likes to rename things occasionally. No, it's just celestial navigation. That's what it is. That's what it's called. It's not astral navigation, because that's not what it's called. And the fact that, well, you're using astral points, I don't care. It's not called star navigation either. But you're using the stars to navigate. That's correct. Its name is celestial navigation, isn't it?
Well, I've seen it being called astronavigation. You can actually search the term astronavigation and
get lost. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what specific star you were going to use? Because you know how
any star.
No, I'm sorry. There's only 58 stars that they use for celestial navigation. So
what? There's more than 58 navigation stars. There's a shorthand book that some mariners and I think pilots get that's got something like, I don't know, something like 100, maybe a bit less, like 98. I can't remember the exact number. But, you know, we're verging on triple digits in the shorthand version of the almanac. What's he babbling? Does this guy not have a clue what he's on about?
Well, in fairness to him, I have seen all different numbers as per the question, how many actual navigational celestial bodies there are. I've seen different numbers. I've heard 60 something, 50 something, 70 something, 80 something, 90 something. I've heard them all. So I don't know how many there actually is.
Yeah, but
so you can use any of
we
them.
know where the stars are, and you can use any of them so long as you know their position. Now, whether or not a publisher chooses to go into the detail of giving you 150 or 50 is up to the publisher in terms of whether or not they track individual positions to give them times for you to look up in the almanac when you measure the angle to a star from a given location. Now, that is down to the publisher of the almanac. That's all that is.
What's the relevancy anyway?
None.
There's none. He's just stalling. Oh, it's astro navigation. Oh, there's so many stars. So what? And?
Yeah.
You dumbass flat earther. You're just stalling. Everyone knows it.
Try again.
Any star will move 60 nautical miles per degree. I understand there are 57 nautical stars in the almanac, yes.
And you're going to need a flat earth for that. Yeah? Yeah. 1 degree for every 60 nautical miles. Okay? Well, that's going to need a flat earth to measure the angle.
58 if you include Polaris, yes.
Right. And there's 115 that some other don't use.
Yeah.
Right? So
they all obey 60
Who cares?
nautical miles per degree. Even the ones not.
You're going to need a flat earth for that.
The almanac.
Right. So they invented the astrolabe when they thought the earth was flat. The astrolabe still works today.
You mean an astrolabe measures angles, and in order to have this be useful when referencing the ground, you'll need to reference it to the baseline, and that would mean that the earth, the ground that you're navigating, is flat. It's a tool for measuring angles, specifically elevation angles in this respect. So, therefore, Earth's flat because baseline flat to get angle. That's what you need to actually say. Not, this tool worked when they thought Earth was flat, and this tool still works today when they think Earth's a globe. That proves absolutely nothing.
Celestial navigation.
Yeah, I think he's... Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think he just... His point is valid, he's just wording it wrong. It's like, before anyone claimed the Earth to be a globe, they were navigating using a realistic horizontal plane. The same plane they're using today, regardless of whatever claims people want to make concerning their word belief.
When you say it, it's a flat Earth proof and a globe debunking and a concise end to the argument. When he says it, it's a non sequitur, meaningless non-conclusion. It doesn't do anything for the argument. It doesn't progress it. QE summarized it. This is fluff.
Well, not only that, he's allowing a false dichotomy by saying that what the book on celestial navigation is actually using a globe. What he's talking about, the astrolabe uses a flat plane. Therefore, it's putting them on equal footing. But neither one of them is using a globe. Like, what are they? What is this?
This is you saying that they put them up in false dichotomy, both holding a flat plane. He's saying, I've got a flat plane with an astrolabe because I used to use an astrolabe on a flat plane. And Ruhif saying, well, we use a sextant now, and sextant's used on a globe. Well, both are using flat planes. They're both being held up in false dichotomy, one with a poorly argued flat earth, and the other with a bait and switch with an angle taken off a flat earth. So they're both flat earths, is what you're saying. and you accurately summed this up months ago. What they do is they put two flat Earths against each other, one that's described as being a failure, the other that's described as winning and working, but both need a flat plane. We've just spent 20 minutes going through our Ruhif's needs a flat plane. Now it's this guy's opportunity to say, this tool measures angles, you'll need a flat baseline. Your tool measures angles, it too needs a flat baseline. We're talking about angles, you're going to need a flat Earth for that. That's what it needs. It's just not happening. Jaron did it at the beginning and then didn't for some reason. Just decried it after he'd done it. I don't get it.
Well, they're arguing over which one of the tools that they're using in their arguments measures the Earth more flat. Okay, really?
Yeah, basically. Which one of these two flat Earth measuring tools measuring a flat Earth is going to prove a globe today?
Just claim that you need to use all this trigonometry and multiply by 60 nautical miles, whatever. It still works on a flat Earth.
That's true. Yeah.
It's not true. He's not using trigonometry.
What you actually do is you take the angle to the star, and then you minus that angle from 90, and then times that result by 60 to give you the nautical mile distance to the GP of the star. Well, then you can draw a circle around that point with that distance and put it on the map and say, well, I am on some point of that circle. Now, if you're at sea and every bit of that circle's at sea, that's not very useful. That's why you need to do it again, twice, or potentially a third time, so that there's two intersecting points of those circles when you use a different star. Now, the distance that you've got is because we know where these stars are and how far they are away from the points on the ground where they are or what time. That's what's in the almanac. But the maths that you did poorly with, minus from 90 times by 60, is to give you the nautical mile distance to the GP of the star at its ground position. Mentioning anything to do with the height along that process? Oh, no, my bad. The little straw man that Ruhif used didn't get caught. He said it failed because it doesn't give you the height of the friggin' star. What? Well, number one, it only works because we're taking angles from a flat baseline, and it's not working to give us heights of stars. It's GP positions, so we can save our life by finding out where the hell we are. That's what it does. But this fundamental principle of minusing the angle that you measure from 90, yeah, but that's because you've got a co-angle. It's in a box. Yeah? All four edges of that, all four corners are 90. So then you can times that by 60 to give you your nautical mile distance to the GP. That's useful. That's the process that's saved people's lives. This guy brushes it over like, yeah, but it was still done on a flat Earth. Why was it done on a flat Earth? What part of it's requiring a flat Earth? Well, the bit that Jaron just went, you'll need a flat Earth for that, when Ruhif started measuring angles off a flat Earth for his description, when saying how it's actually a flat Earth description that fails to give you heights of stars. I mean, these guys need to brush up on what's actually happening here.
No, it doesn't. There is $10,000 up for grabs. MC Toon has said if you can get a position on Earth using these three stars and a flat.
If you can get a position on Earth using these three stars with angles measured off a flat Earth. McToon's a criminal. He's a fraud. He's a liar. He's a cheat. And he should have somebody who's a governing body of people who put out challenges on YouTube governing him and removing him from the site. Because his challenge is to prove a flat Earth with angles that can only be measured from a flat Earth. I've pointed that out to him 87 times. Have I got 10 grand out of him? No. His challenge requires a flat Earth. I've pointed that out. He hasn't given me 10 grand. This second-hand shyster fraudster Ruhif is now peddling the same fraud. Yeah, we've proven it, Ruhif. That's why we're here telling you how you needed a flat Earth when you did the same thing. Now you're going to hold up Toon's challenge like, look, there's 10 grand out there for grabs. What, if you show out a flat Earth is absolutely required? He won't give it you because he's a shyster.
That might be why McToon didn't allow me to speak on his channel, because then he would have had to pay you, right?
Yeah. 87 times I've told him. Got them all documented, got screenshots of me telling him and his response. Has he given me 10K? Has he? Hell. His challenge to lay down the challenge in the first instance required a flat Earth. He's describing the challenge with angles measured off a flat plane. But he's so stupid, he thinks that if he starts the challenge with angles that were measured off a flat plane, he can ask how the angles measured off a flat plane work on a flat plane, and then show how the angles worked at the centre of a sphere on a plane in a sphere for celestial navigation for angles that don't come from the surface anymore. There you go. Toon's challenge answered. He won't get me 10 grand, and this doesn't count as an 88th time of telling him. But meanwhile, this shyster is more than happy to say, angles I said don't work to give me heights are now angles that aren't angles and only work on a globe. Toon's got a challenge for our angles that aren't angles that we've already got named and numbered can only work on a globe. And if someone comes along like me and tells him that those angles were required to have a flat Earth to measure, he won't acknowledge it. He'll ignore it 87 times and carry on peddling his deceit for pain relief, which is all this is. Not because he's got 10 grand to give anybody when we prove to him that Earth's flat and his challenge requires it to be so. It's so he can hold it up as a fraudster to say no one's ever got the 10 grand. Yeah, that's because even when you prove it, he doesn't give it you. So what's that worth? Zero, other than me being able to legitimately call him a fraud and a con artist and ask why YouTube allow people who run competitions offering 10 grand to not pay out. I ask myself, why do YouTube let these charlatans peddle their lies and their false competitions?
Earth, you get 10 grand. No one has claimed it.
I've claimed it. I claim it. You need a flat Earth for the angles. I've told Toon personally 87 times. You lying shit. Have you gone around and checked if everybody's tried to claim it? I know many people who've said that they've tried to claim it from him. You're just a bullshitter, aren't you, Rufy? Need to lie to Glurf.
Why does it have to be just those 3 stars? Why can't it be the other?
What the stars that are in his challenge required a flat Earth to measure the angle. For there to be a challenge, there needed to be a measurement of the angle. And that required a flat Earth. I keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. It won't get me 10 grand.
55 or 50.
I'll make a challenge just for you with whatever 3 stars you like. Is that okay?
Okay.
Sure. I'll give you 10 grand. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Done.
Really, Rufy? Would you extend that offer to me? Because I will friggin' hold you to it. Have I got Rufy's contact details on Skype? Timestamp 3413. I'm going to ask Rufy if that offer is open to me. I can take any 3 stars and prove a flat Earth with them. No worries. And you'll give me 10 grand for it, right, Rufy? You offered this guy live, and I'm now saying to my audience, Rufy does have a channel that you can go and ask him. Does this offer of 10 grand to prove a flat Earth with any 3 stars extend specifically to Nathan Oakley? Because I want to offer him precisely that. And see if, like Toon, he'll give me 10 grand for it. Because he won't. He's a charlatan. Rufy is just like Toon, a fraud.
I'll be 10 grand richer.
Well, the challenge has stood. MC Toon's challenge has stood for 18 months now, something like that.
Enough time for me to give 87 renditions of the rebuttal that it requires a flat plane and him not pay me. I mean, yeah, I can offer up a Lamborghini for anybody who proves a globe. And when someone comes along, sticks me on a spaceship, sends me out into space and it's flat, yeah, I won't have to give him a Lamborghini and that's legitimate. Meanwhile, offering a Lamborghini to prove that grass is green and then having somebody come up to me with a handful of green grass and me saying, I'm not going to be giving this Lamborghini away until someone shows me green grass. This is the green grass. I've shown it 87 times. You think this is worth something? Yeah, to Jaren's audience, maybe. Because they don't know any better, do they?
MC Toon is a different kind of...
How's this going down? There's pain relief, by the way. You look quite pleased about this at the moment, Rufy. Yeah? This little bit of pain relief that nobody's managed to overcome a 10 grand challenge. Yeah, we have, Rufy. Multiple times. Is this shattering your pain relief? Yeah? Was this a nice little ploy to get you some sleep? Yeah? Nobody's answered the challenge, therefore Earth's a globe. Bottom of the barrel. It goes over on Jaren's, though. Yeah, bottom of the barrel's worthy.
person, but go ahead.
Well, no one has submitted a correct answer yet.
Really? 87 renditions of how the angle that you demonstrated and you measured off your flat plane on your graph would be the same methodology to acquire any angle because it's two straight lines. Therefore, the angle in Toon's challenge, angles, required a flat Earth to measure. You think that reiterating it 3 times won't get me pointing it out for the 5th time to you personally? That you do absolutely require a flat Earth for those angles, Rufy? I wonder how you'll sleep tonight, my friend. I'll sleep like a baby. You will not. You will dwell on how non-globe shaped and flat Earth required your religion really is, because we've pointed it out to you.
So regardless of what you think of MC Toon, no one has submitted a correct answer.
I think he's a charlatan and a fraud, and I can prove it, and I have submitted an answer to him personally 87 times.
Because his let me look at his whatever claim. Let me look.
His claim is that flat Earth measured elevation angle measurements to stars can't work on a flat Earth. And that's also the undoing of his challenge and the proof of a flat Earth that is required for the angles in his challenge.
Okay, I don't really follow him. I need to look at his claim.
Neither do I. But he does follow me, and therefore my responses to him, all 87 of them, were in my comments when MC Toon was on my videos watching me. MC Toon watches me. Jaren definitely watches me. And Rufy watches, don't you, son? Yeah?
Claim, and then
I'll
get back to you on that one.
Okay, we seem to get to the bottom of that one.
We've already done it for you, Jaren. It must annoy you greatly that we've already covered this and undone it.
Next, Nick, I believe.
Maybe when your commenters tell you how we covered it a long time ago and you're failing to, that will annoy you too.
Claim number 2.
What was your claim number 2?
Oh, no, you're saying that. Oh, I saw you're saying you already did it.
Infrared proves no curve.
If you guys have any questions for either of the guys, you can send in super chats. Yeah, we got you.
Yep. Miles.
You probably know Vistaprint for business cards, but did you know we all...
They're still very, very tall. Very, very. About 150 feet.
150 feet? Wow.
I'll have to get back to you on that, but I'm pretty sure they're well over 100 feet.
Why do we need to know how high they are in feet
it's on
when
their
looking
website.
at things in the distance? Is this going to prove that Earth is flat? Why are you making a claim about how high boats are when this is the globe's requirement for a physical geometric sphere edge? They call the horizon when they can't even have a horizon on a globe. But yet you're using this as a claim. What's going on? You don't need the horizon as a flat earther. What are you doing? You certainly need not claim what boats or buildings will be doing in a feet value. If we're talking about how things behave into the distance when looked at, that's an angular relationship. This is perspective that we're detailing. The feet and inches value won't change with distance. Yet you're describing how things work at distances. Won't be proving a flat earth either. It's a globe claim.
The Kentucky Dam, or whatever that dam is called, is on the Kentucky Lake.
Okay.
And you see these ones in the rear, they're even further.
That would be where my argument ended. See these things? It's because they're there. That's it. That's the end of the argument. In fact, it's not an argument. It's a statement of fact. We do see them where they are there. It's then upon, him to start arguing how it's not there, or refracted, or whatever he's going to claim with respect to a geometric horizon. How is this useful to a flat earther?
Further. Maybe.
Sorry, the tall ones. How big are the tall ones?
Give it him in feet so he can tell you how, the same feet and inches value would be obscured by an Earth curve edge at the horizon? He needs it in feet because he's not going to be using perspective, even though literally about 20 minutes earlier in this discussion, he specifically told us about how angular resolution would be the reason things didn't resolve, and it's definitely not Earth curve. So given that how well things will resolve, that's an angular resolution description. But he's asking constantly about how many feet it is. Shouldn't we be concerned about the angle to it?
These ones here are claimed to be 150.
150. So the tallest ones are 150. Okay.
That with the 8 inches.
Sorry, are you writing these numbers down so you can run it through the Earth that's flat differential calculation between eye level and surface level, Rufy? Because when you run those maths, they're labelled begging the question, proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve maths by us. you'll be utilizing a flat surface level to contrast it with the eye level, and then claim that there's a point below surface level that's a physical geometric sphere edge labeled horizon in these maths? No, Rufy, this is very 2015. In fact, you were here while we pulled this apart.
Per mile squared, they should not be even visible. And you can.
Should they not? So, what are you, a globe believer? Why are you telling him what should or shouldn't be visible at the horizon? You just told us you saw it, it was there, you can see it. But now you're telling us that it shouldn't be there if we believe we're on a sphere? Man, you're doing all the hard work for him. Don't tell us what should or shouldn't be there based on what a globe says will obstruct it. I don't want to hear it. From a flat earther, I'll get annoyed with you. If you can't figure out why, then that's your bad.
You can clearly see pretty much all of it.
Okay, and that proves Earth's flat, does it? No.
All of it. Wow. This is
So
awesome.
Pretty much.
Okay. Yep. Did you, like, what's your observer height? Blah, blah, blah.
You didn't take anything down? He said 6 feet.
Yeah, he did say 6 feet.
Right.
How much should be obstructed?
Right.
Sorry, how much should be obstructed if we assume that the Earth is a sphere radius 3959 miles and every distance to horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet? That's why you need the height, right? So we can automatically assume that the horizon's a physical geometric sphere edge. Now, horizons aren't possible on a globe, Rufy. You should keep up to date with the flat Earth debate. It's actually QE's argument.
Right there. How much should be obstructed? Pretty much all of it using globe.
Should it?
Math.
Yeah, why are you offering up an argument for how much should or shouldn't be obstructed by globe Earth maths? That's his claim.
Do you have a number? Did you bother to put it into?
Did you bother to run it through my begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve maths that gives you the differential from eye level to surface level, which is flat? Did you do that?
A curve calculator at all?
Run it through the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator for the feet and inches value that will be obscured when ignoring the resolution that you said was important earlier, Ruhif. Why would you be doing this? I mean, this will only last a short period in pain relief terms. Go ahead, whoever from G+.
Yeah, when Ruhif said to him, right, and it's a common question, then how much of it should be obscured? The answer to that question is, obscured by what? You know, what is it that's supposed to be obscuring it? As then, you know, if you're asking how much should be obscured by what? Then it's up to Ruhif to define what this is.
The refracted horizon that isn't geometric anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So what can he say at that point? Well, he can say, well, a globe's refracted horizon means absolutely nothing. So you're claiming an optical phenomenon. That's what you're claiming.
I can
We're
maybe
looking at an
sort this
optical
out.
phenomenon.
I can ask Ruhi if he knows he's obviously watching. I'll just clarify. You can maybe answer in the comments. Let us know in the comments, Rufif. How's that geometric horizon working out for you?
Yeah, 165 feet.
165 feet obstructed. Excellent.
Excellent. Now I've got some maths that I can hijack. Surface level being flat, and eye level, and claim there's a geometric tangent point horizon below the surface level because you've given me the height in feet. What about the angle? I mean, you were telling us all about how the resolution was not Earth curve earlier. I mean, we got it on tape and critiqued it and laughed at you and mocked you for it.
Cool. And you reckon those are 150 feet tall? So can I be shared now? 1 sec.
Yep, you got 1 minute.
Doop-a-doop. All right, so I took some transcripts of the video. I'm probably going to call them and get...
One more time.
Did they cover how he got the height?
I don't know. I don't think they did. So even if he does infer height, I love it. I'm going to need a flat Earth for that height. Go ahead, John.
Right. If you're going to say 150 foot, it's not like you run a tape measure up. You took an angle from a flat plane and you calculated the one side of the triangle for terrestrial trigonometry.
And you use perspective, which means that is not part of your globe mathematics.
Hold on. Ring, 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 ring. I've just had Rufus on the phone. He says, nah, he just got it from Google.
Yeah, you can't use angular sizes. That's perspective. It's
Well,
not,
no,
if it's not part of your...
no one's here in the Lamborghini going by. You got it off Google, and would Google be globe-shaped? All of the maps and topographical heights that are given to you are with reference to a flat plane. So it doesn't matter what he references. If he's giving a height from anything, any reference he gets ever for these heights of these buildings or whatever he's looking at in any respect will always be with respect to a horizontal plane. Now, I know that with respect to Google Earth, where Ruhif commonly gets his values from, because he did them when he was here. Well, those values, we also point out to Ruhif, come from elevation profiles off a flat plane in Google Earth. He was here when we pointed that out to him personally. So what's he doing? Oh, he's just seeking pain relief. I keep forgetting.
No, it's a little bit more than that. He's actually going a bit more than that because he's not dealing with an orthographic elevation graph on Google Earth. He's dealing with an actual angular size that he's then determining the actual size of based off its angular perspective size.
He's going to need a flat Earth for that.
Well, he's going to need a flat Earth for that, but he's also going to have to explain where this perspective is within his mathematics that he's going to refer to later. Where is the flat plane you need in your mathematics, and where is the perspective that you need within your mathematics to make this claim? Because it's twofold. It's not just the flat plane. He's also claiming perspective. Can't leave him off.
Data on exactly how tall they are, blah, 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 120 feet. And then in 15 minutes, he goes 120 to 140 feet tall. And then you should see just the very tips of them. So these are all your friends' statements. But if you had done a little bit of research, where is it now? If you had done a little bit of research, you would know that the FAA keeps a database of all the towers that might be obstructing to aircraft. All right, so they will tell you how tall these towers are.
Off a flat plane.
Yeah. Can you see on screen how tall the towers are?
On a flat plane.
157 feet.
With reference to sea level. Flat plane.
No. Tell me again how tall the towers are, where it says tower height.
157 feet.
No, the 4 tall towers, where it says tower height 358 feet.
358 feet.
Right.
What about the angular size from that distance? Can you give me that?
So they're not 150 feet.
Well, they're a little tiny speck of blurred nonsense in a picture in a camera. This looks like an overhead view. This looks nothing like the image that I just had. But what you're saying is when you give us the height off a flat plane, it's higher. Okay. So the height off a flat plane is higher. Where's this going, Roofy?
Okay. The tall ones are 360 feet or so. And
off a flat plane, yeah. Proving Earth's flat.
And they are also on ground, which is higher than the water level.
The water what now? So Ruhif is using the water level to tell you how high they are. Yeah, and they're all referenced to the same level. Earth is flat.
Yes.
Okay, it still doesn't work on your globe math.
Really? Okay. So you said 165 feet should be hidden.
Correct.
Should be hidden according to the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator and the differential calculation of the difference between eye level and surface level. Surface level being flat, and the point you're claiming blocks these boats and buildings for your hijacking perspective calculation is below that surface level. No, Roofy, the heights themselves have come off a flat plane.
Right. How much higher are these?
Off a flat plane.
Above the water.
The level, off the level.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. Are these towers diverging from each other, or are they all based off of their vertical height above the horizontal mean sea level?
Yeah, but these are going to shrink into the distance, and then I'm going to claim that shrinking is them going over Earth curve when I take the differential between eye level and surface level and hijack perspective in Muppet vision.
Yeah, well, exactly. Even though I've used perspective, and I've used angular size and angles as part of my argument earlier in the debate.
About 400 feet, right?
Less than 400 feet, yeah.
Right, but only 165 feet should be hidden, right?
Right, and you clearly see more than 100.
Right, why should it be hidden? Only 165 feet should be hidden by what?
Yeah.
Should be hidden? What?
By what?
By begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking point below surface level labelled horizon when you can't even have a horizon on a globe, and the heights you're giving to tell us how many feet and inches, not angular, not resolution based like you said earlier, Ruhif, but how much those heights of a flat plane will be obscured when plugged into these maths. That's what should be seen. Oh, definitely not, Ruhif. Do you see how easily we can concisely summarise this garbage? It's amazing, isn't it?
65 feet of it.
Oh, really? Please show that.
You've already lost, mate. Yeah, like we lost to this crap in 2015. Until we figured it out and got wise to it. Then Ruhif never returned, ever, literally, since that day. He's never been back. Here he is, at the point he left. Still peddling it, right? You're so dumb that you can't even refine your arguments beyond 2015, Ruhif, and you're still peddling the same crap. Literally, the point that it failed here, you left and just carried on peddling it even though it failed here? Wow! Man, you've got no abilities mentally, have you? Yeah? Where's your out-of-the-box thinking? Where's the refinement to the arguments? Where's the new arguments? This is it? What, you carried on where you left off with us failing? Wow.
They can't progress. So now the new tactic is confessional debating, and they're all learning about it, right? So how can we basically explain something that hints at the truth that would completely undo the globe Earth model idea, and then just say it in plain sight like it doesn't have any consequences? And that's what they do now. That's where they're all going, because they can't move on from actual argumentation that they've had in the field, because that would take the bottom from underneath it all every time.
Well, when Ruhif or someone similar says, on a globe, blah, 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 right, would happen. What globe? You know, it's instantly into the oldest trick, which is begging the question.
Yeah.
What globe? You must prove this thing. That's the whole point of this debate. You can't just pre-assume a globe. You must prove this geometrically.
Exactly.
You know, and if you can't, that's it.
That's not how the religion works, though. The presupposition is a given.
But that's why the title of the calculator. That's why the title is the way it is, right? Well, how much is going to be obscured? Well, why are we talking about how much is obscured? Well, as per the begging the question, because we're automatically all assuming we're on a globe in this scenario. Look how chuffed Ruhif is. Everyone's already begging the question with him. Yeah? This trick of getting people to lose by luring them into the calculation, that would be the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, earth curve calculation, is where they win. He's only got one trick. He's a one-trick pony. What a pathetic weasel. No wonder he's never been back.
Yeah. To be more precise, it's an affirming the consequent form of logical fallacy every single time.
Well,
I can't
does
see
he
more than
wake up
165
and say
feet.
to himself,
Yes,
how much
Sorry.
of that stadium should be blocked? Sorry, I'm just saying, I don't wake up and look at the local Greyhound Stadium or whatever place, football pitch or whatever, and look at them and go, at that distance, how much of that should be blocked? That never happens. I've never done that even one time.
Oh, surely. No, it's done all the time. It has a high degree of practical application because it's used all the time to affirm you're on a sphere. Very practically useful.
Yeah, ballers don't bring it up unless somebody challenges that maybe what they're looking at is not a sphere, right? And then it becomes relevant. But I mean, there's not a lot of globers that are continually counting where something is and that proves the curve. It's something that really gets triggered as soon as somebody says, no, it's not a globe or it's flat. That's when they start calculating it.
You can. Just because you say, hey, no, we're going to go back. We're going to do it again. And I'm going to do it
do it again. Try,
do it
you know,
this
those massive cranes that go across that bridge.
You can see them.
No, you can't.
Look at the video again. You can clearly see the cranes over there.
No. You're talking about the cranes that lift stuff. I'm talking about the cranes that carry the freight.
Yeah, you can still see them.
No, you can't.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
I'm gonna do it again just for you.
Okay. A rubbish observation. Right. Didn't get an accurate height for the towers. Didn't account for any refraction or atmospheric effects.
So going through how the opponent as an individual has failed miserably when both of you have been utilizing flat plane heights, or you're begging the question, proof of another perspective, hijacking Earth curve calculator and its differential calculation between eye level and surface level to infer that there's a point below surface level you label in your maths in orthographic view the horizon, to claim that a certain amount of feet and inches that won't change with distance is obscured by the horizon as it's labelled in your maths. Not in reality, because the globe can't have a horizon, because it would be horizontal, something that your horizonless globe would not afford you, because it has curve. So, in summary, this crap from 2015 can be summarised in one breath.
Yeah, rubbish.
Nathan, one second before you move on.
Yeah.
Ruhif gave away the whole globe game right there, because what he threw in was you didn't adjust for any refraction or refractive or atmospheric effects. What Ruhif is saying there, and this is what they're always at this, and they've been at this since 2015. What they're saying is what we see in a horizontal view is only a refracted position. The real geometric position is somewhere below that.
Because
right?
you can't see the geometric horizon.
Yeah, hang on. Let me finish though, Albert. What he's saying without admitting it is that what I'm claiming is that there is a physical geometric position, that this is refracted from, that we can never see because we only ever see refracted positions. And I'm subtly throwing that in there as if it's your fault for not including this complete and utter nonsense that I must believe if I want to believe I'm on a globe. And it's going to make this guy Nick look bad or feel bad because he didn't adjust for what? What is it that Nick didn't adjust for? Over some variant of over 6R rubbish that's based on an R value that was never measured because we can't see the physical geometric horizon that we would need to measure it because it's always refracted.
I see. So
we base our...
Hold on. Let me just try and summarise. Hold on. Okay, Darwin, then I'll summarise. Go ahead.
He didn't use the terrestrial refraction pronouns. So it's like, how dare you?
Okay. So what Brian's saying is, while they're arguing back and forth, saying, we can see the cranes. No, we can't see the cranes. Yes, we can see the cranes. What should be said is, flat earther, I see the cranes. There they are. And what Ruhif, the globe believer, should be saying is, no, what we're actually seeing is a slightly refracted, non-standard refraction holographic projection of the cranes behind the slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection of the non-geometric apparent horizon, so that we can see the cranes in their non-geometric, non-physical position. Because Earth's a sphere.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, what Ruhif is saying is that you didn't account for this crazy nonsense that I must believe in for me to keep believing that I'm on a globe. You're not taking into account the amount of refracted blockage that is visible at the cranes that's blocked by a refraction that's based off of a geometric globe that has zero geometric measurement, and there's no evidence for it in reality.
Well, again, we can get this cleared up in the comments by Ruhif, who definitely watches. How's our geometric horizon working out for you? Just leave it in the comments. Just let me know.
We can't measure the geometric horizon. We can only calculate it.
Okay.
Rubbish.
You got claim number 2.
My claim.
Are you going to be sharing? Sharing it?
Yeah, 1 second. Claim number 2.
We are going to pause it there. Okay. Hopefully that's satisfied Brian. 40 minutes in, okay?
Excellent. Yeah.
So for tomorrow, we're at the 40 minutes exactly, Mark. Okay.
That's good. That really makes an after show. You know what I mean? Because sometimes the after show can kind of trail off. You know what I mean? The more
sometimes
exciting
you're right.
the after show is. Sorry.
I was just going to say I was agreeing with you. Sometimes it's a bit Nathan Light, and yeah.
Yes. Well, the more exciting the after show is, the more likely people are to want to become a member, so they get to hear the after shows the same day.
Oh, you
if the after show is
appealing to my mercenary nature, you.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, because it's business in a way, isn't it? Yeah, that's what you do. That's your livelihood. People are more likely to want to see what they can't see if what they can't see right now, is very likely really good. Whereas if they just hear me and John and whoever are when chatting away in the after show, they can hear that kind of stuff on Discord. No offense, but they can. Do you know what I mean? Even though our topics might be good sometimes. If there's a focal point in the after show, like on the live show, it's like, I want to be a member so I can hear this later on when Nathan puts it out an hour or two after the show comes out.
Right.
Yeah, but I would like to contest. Sorry.
I was just going to say,
we're just pretty unique,
folks.
Right? With our quality level, even in the common banter, that isn't out there. That's only at Flat Earth debates. Even when we think we're not doing something special, it's still to a level that isn't out there at all.
Yes, I agree. But having a focal point, we can do a bit of both in the after show, which sells the after show.
Refracted curvature, you're around. No. Oh well. I don't know. I think
you get.
I get what an audience wants. I was just going to ask him about voltage curves. I know what the audience is excited by.
That's not going to help you on memberships. Voltage curves.
But actually, now that we're sort of done with this, did anybody look at the video about the giant steel balls? Because it was really interesting.
No.
Tell us about it.
Well, it's a pretty high-tech propaganda piece. And it's almost addressing gas mechanics, except then they just put it in space. It's psychologically really interesting, and it's not that long a video. So it would be.
What are they doing, though? I don't understand that either.
And then maybe decide whether we would review this or something, because it's not like a prominent debater or anything in there.
I'm down for that. I'm glad you're taking up a bit of slack where 10th Man used to. So. Yeah, I implore you, please provide videos. Stick it in. If we weren't covering Jaron today and you just stuck it in the link, it's a convenience thing. Like, the reason the ones that 10th Man gets covered are because he puts them there at the right time. So he's got a link ready, and then like I get after the housekeeper, I'm like, what are we gonna do now? And then 10th, but I've got a link for a video. Now, am I gonna have time to critique the title? By the time I've brought it up, we're covering that video. So today, if we hadn't have had Jaron to cover, or Jaron's show to cover, yeah, I'd have just clicked on that and we'd have done it, Arwin.
Yeah, it got snowed under. I reposted the link, though.
Yeah, but that's no good. Missing out what I'm trying to say. It's all about timing.
Yeah, but I want you guys to just watch it and then think whether it's review worthy. Because it's not,
you've done that.
It's not that technical.
Well, you've already done that.
I have not reviewed it.
Well, then why are you recommending it? Oh,
because I think it's really good.
Well,
I think it's worth watching.
If you haven't watched it, how come you can think it's really good?
Because I did watch it. I didn't review it. I didn't talk about it on my show or anything.
Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is that when I asked you earlier on what it's about, you gave me some vague generalization, and I have no idea what the video is about.
It's about a claim of the first types of satellites that were created by NASA. That was basically giant metal plated balloons. And that's what they're talking about sending metal balloons into space vacuum and all. It's really weird. But that's what it's about. And it's nothing like, I haven't seen anything like this out there before this video, and I've seen a lot.
Yeah, but is there
not
anything to
that old
review on it?
video.
What you just told us there? Sorry.
It's pretty new. Never mind.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make there, Erwin, is if it's going to be a video for review, then we have to determine what kind of video we can review. We could watch that, and what do we say about it while we're watching it? We have to have there has to be some. We have to give it some critique. If the only critique we can give it is you're going to need, you can't have gas pressure without a container, then we can't give the same critique to the whole of the video.
Yeah, but you
it's boring for an audience.
Point at it at how they're trying to slip it through, how they are really like watering it down and all. It's just psychologically very interesting, and it's not that long a video. So you just watch it in your own time. It's really just a few minutes, and then you can make up your mind like how we would review this. Right?
Yeah, but see, look, the problem is, anything from NASA is always so full of nonsense that they've been reviewed and get reviewed all the time by flat earthers on a regular basis. I don't know. I think a lot of time stuff from NASA is so generic that it's so blatant in your face.
That's what I'm saying. It's specifically different because now it's a balloon in space. I've never seen that claim before. They claim it's not about the future or right now. They claim that this happened in the 20th century. It's really weird. Check it out.
Yeah, but a balloon in space can't work because if space existed, we wouldn't be alive to create the balloon. And even if we made one balloon, right, before we all died, that balloon, the gas inside the balloon would expand. You know what I mean? To fill the available volume.
All this, that's the magic.
Yeah, because that's what they're saying. The steel. Yeah, I understand. The steel is on the outside to stop the balloon from expanding too much. Blah blah blah. Like, no, you can't stop it. That's why they have the steel on it. They're trying to pretend they're stopping it.
Well, they say that they're like, it has to be much less gas in there so that in outer space it's not gonna blow up and all that. It's like,
Yeah, they have to release gas.
Yes, but I just thought the video was done interestingly. Right?
Yeah,
it's not just some dumb anti-flat earther that's just blah, 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 see, flat earthers are dumb. This is like, they're actually trying to give you a technically sound explanation, but from a NASA perspective. But they're actually sort of doing their best. And that's what's so interesting about this.
I don't know.
I think Bassano touched on this back in the day.
But this specific video is pretty recent, so.
Yeah, but it's Project Echo, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he touched on it. Yeah, Robert was the balloon guy.
That's right.
It's too far back. It's too far back in the past. I can't. I don't know exactly what it was. I just know, generally speaking.
I just thought it was an interesting subject and an interesting video in the light of everything that we have learned over the time. I mean, if we'd review this video like 3 or 4 years ago, it might have been a bit complicated. Things would have slipped us by. But right now, when you watch this, you see everything. So
I don't know.
Just check it out.
I don't know. As a review, I don't know if we can review something that is a NASA video about some NASA thing. What do we do?
It's a small video. Hey, we review astrophysicists, right? They talk a lot of nonsense. Well, this is basically a concerted effort of different astrophysicists that kind of slip it through and like make you not realize the second law of thermodynamics actually does apply everywhere and not just within a little mention that they give it. It's because they sort of do mention it. And then they just don't draw out the actual consequence for the idea of outer space. It's fascinating. Just check it out.
Well, maybe what would be a good review would be the conversation that Robert Bassano had with that guy in NASA. The guy who was a pretty high-ranking guy when it came to some of the data. The guy who had been working in that sector for 24 years. And Robert Bassano was asking him questions. He said, you know what? That's a good question. I always wondered that. Do you remember that going?
Maybe
It was just being honest.
Maybe, or maybe you could just watch the video and not just like make up 1,000 reasons why we shouldn't
No,
review
this
it.
is the section where we talk about the video that we're going to talk about. This is a new bit. Very popular with the
problem is,
audience.
when you don't have. Sorry, Nate.
I was just joking.
No, but it's true. Well, the problem is, Arwen, let me lay out the problem here. The problem is that you don't have confidence in the video. So how am I supposed to have confidence in the video?
What are you talking about? I've been defending it for like half an hour.
Yes, but you're saying someone else should maybe have a look at it and see if it's worth reviewing. You should know.
Yeah,
well, you should say
dude, I'll review it on my show then, okay, bitch? If that's
you should just say we should review this. We gotta review this.
We should review this. That's why I posted it yesterday and said, "Hey, this is a really good video. Might we review this?" Question mark.
On what basis?
On the basis of the subject, a balloon in space, and that they talk about pressure differentials, and it's all really kind of funny right there in your face. On that,
did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it from beginning to end. It's a very short video, like 8 minutes or 7 minutes.
That's what I thought was the problem. I thought you hadn't actually
exactly.
watched it, and you were just recommending it, even though you hadn't actually watched it. That's what I thought you.
What? No, I did actually watch it. I mean, I'm not gonna. Oh, guys, quickly review this 2-hour video that I obviously haven't watched. It's like 8 minutes. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it.
So, is it worthy of our review?
Yes.
Okay, there you
go. That's not what you were saying earlier. What you were saying earlier was that if we watched it, we might make up our minds of whether it was worthy of a review.
No, that's
you weren't.
Yeah, that's called modesty. Now I end the modesty. Review this right now. It's the best video on the internet. Yeah, we need to review this, or FED goes down.
That's your confidence you were looking for,
you?
Brian. What more can you ask for?
That's what we're looking for. Yes, we want commitment.
Yeah. I don't need some wishy-washy attitude.
Video or FED will be shut down. Okay, is that good enough for you?
All right, this is going to represent your ability. You're putting your flag in the ground with this video. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Your reputation is hanging on this
FED is going to go down.
Your reputation is hanging on this review of this video.
Well, my reputation was kind of loopy anyway, so I don't give a shit.
Well, why don't we throw it on there, and then we'll decide whether Arwen's reputation is good or bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. How about no? How about I don't try to spend half an hour trying to convince you that we can do this and then do it afterward when I'm already engaged in other stuff, like trying to assemble this monitor here.
You're too busy to be involved. I'm not hearing confidence.
No,
Nathan, if you just want the first minute of it.
Stop being such a pikey, for fuck's sake.
If you just throw on the first minute of it, and
not all Irish are pikeys. That's racist.
I just watched Snatch yesterday, so.
He's not even speaking in Irish.
But my friends, I have friends who are.
I don't care, Nathan. I'm just going to say what I'm going to say.
We reviewing this or what?
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you going to review this?
Well, we're trying to get Nathan to play it, and we'll get you then to be involved, and we're going to then decide whether your recommendations in the future are worth taking serious.
That's the important thing here.
Oh, one thing is for sure, I'm not recommending you incredibly boring videos.
Go on from Discord, whoever that was. No? Maybe not. Ed, you're going to need a flat earth for that or something? No? Fair enough.
I heard some metallic Jimi Hendrix type of stuff.
I'd get the doctor to examine that.
I'd have that looked at, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
So, are we we reviewing? Are we going to go review this to see if it was review worthy?
It's going to be in the queue,
I think-
and should Alwyn post it at the opportune moment when I've not got anything to look at, and
I've
it's
already
like,
posted it.
It's there now. You just have to press play, Nathan. Get it going, and we'll
that's not gonna
decide very
happen.
soon whether Arwen
no, 'cause
is
then it will
trustworthy
require
or
a
not.
different
12
thumbnail.
minutes ago.
We'll cover it. We will. We're also going to cover Flatsoids debate that he had yesterday. Have you all watched that? I think we should spend
Yeah,
at least
but
20
Nathan-
minutes discussing whether or not you've seen it, whether or not I've seen it, whether
I mean, I
or not
reckon we
I'm
could have
worthy of
absolutely-
I've seen it. Let's
recommending it.
not review it.
Did you get a private message off Arwen?
You got rumpus, Nathan. I didn't hear that. Say that again. What are we reviewing? Whether it was a review worthy?
All of the above. I think we should spend at least 20 minutes on that.
Well, no, Nathan. The problem is that we don't want to wait until the show actually happens to go review this video. And while we're reviewing it, we'll find out it's not worth reviewing possibly. And where will Arwen be? Out shopping.
Yeah, that's
what I mean?
what's going to happen.
So-
I know.
Yeah, let's be honest. We need to at least put on the first minute or two here now
No,
and decide whether it's worth a review.
I don't think so. I think that's
Looking for any excuse not to review it, right?
too big a risk.
Oh, shit, I forgot. Did you guys get a chance to review? I put it in Master B and a couple other spots and in Ballbusters where shit said 40. Use my arguments. He was reading right off my website. That little weasel.
What's wrong with that?
I just found it pathetic.
Well, it is kind of pathetic to call someone a liar and all sorts of other stuff, and then turn around and use the words that they've used, but you just called them a liar. That's kind of messed up.
It was funny because he has no depth with it. So he was just reading. I'm listening. I couldn't friggin' believe it. He was using right down the website, Hood and Gallus, and my citations right in order, right? But he couldn't. There was no depth. The guy asked him, "Well, what's information?" Because that's what they were talking about. They were talking atheism and creation. Sorry, I forgot to set the ground or the foundation of it. And he couldn't define it. He couldn't come up with a semblance of an argument. He was just like parroting my headlines. It was really pathetic, man.
Fair enough. No, with
I'll give you
context.
fair enough. Not interested in that. That's a pity worthy of review.
I only said it because earlier in the show I was saying that Jaron should take ownership when he says you're going to need a flat earth for that. Yeah, man, say that. I'm not going to moan and say, oh, that's my argument. I'll be like, yeah, you go, Jaron, in that Lamborghini. Whereas you're not saying that. You're saying he just took the headline.
What the hell are you comparing that shit to?
I think he's missing the point, Nathan. Remember Danny Faulkner?
Excuse me.
Let me give an equivalent. Remember Danny Faulkner said, flat earthers, all they do is go to YouTube and watch YouTube videos. They don't come to someone like me who has all the answers. Then he was asked a valid question. Where did he go to? YouTube. So you know what I mean? The very thing he denied, the very source he denied, is the very source he goes to.
So I was going to say that
denied,
next, Brian, actually.
Okay.
No, I get it.
Yeah, it's like me denying John.
He didn't only go to YouTube. He went to Hillbilly Blue Balls, redneck retard, a.k.a. the photosynthetic redneck, a.k.a. Mr. Gumby football field.
He sure did.
Well, it's a little bit worse than that, though, because what Danny Faulkner should have done to be comparable to Whitsitt is called Blue Marble Science a liar and a moron, and then cited him.
You should listen to it, Nathan. If you get a chance, you probably won't because you're busy with your computer and family. But it's. I was shocked. I came across. I was in Discord, and it just caught my eye. In fact, I didn't even know it was Whitsitt. I just seen creation versus atheism debate, and I said, "Oh, okay, I'm bored. I'll just click on it." Boom! Whitsitt's face pops up with this other idiot retard atheist, right? And I said, "Okay, I'll listen to this for a few minutes." And right out the gate, I said, wait a second. Wait, that's my stuff. He came out. He started off with George Wald. Remember?
Well, he's going to say. Sorry.
Wait a second. He started. What caught me? In fact, I was doing something else at the time. What caught me was when he says George Wald. Now, does anyone know who George Wald is?
I do not.
Anyone here? Well, if you go to my website under scientific proofs of the creator, he started off with nature unguided versus intelligent agency guided. That's what shits it started out with. I couldn't believe it. And the next words out of his mouth was George Wald. Go to my website and see nature that is unguided versus intelligent agency God guided. And right beneath that big ass title is George Wald.
So if you were going to do a review video of this, it would make sense to go to your website, and as he makes points, just scroll down on your website.
Yeah. Well, for a couple or a few instances, I didn't listen to all of it yet. I just got maybe 1/3 of the way through it. It had
but they're not your citations.
Say again?
Yeah, but they're not your citations, QE. That's what I was going to say. But the arguments are.
Yeah, but it's pretty cringeworthy, right? If he just goes from nature, you never hear anyone saying it's unguided versus guided. No one says that besides me. No one has ever said that. Right? That's what caught me off guard. I went, wait a second. And then when he said George Wald, I said, you're reading on my website.
No, I didn't mean that. And when I say they're not your citations, I don't mean that as a slight towards you. What I mean is that's the defense he's going to use.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? If someone brings up that.
Yeah, I understand it. It was funny though because then he got into information. He only used the first proof. Oh yeah, I just got a delivery.
Right.
He only used the first proof. Or just bank it, or just bouncing off the first proof of information in DNA. Guess what the second proof is? Quantum mechanics.
Oh yeah, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting, huh?
I don't think he's going there. I don't think that's the next one in line.
But he can't use the second one.
Yeah.
He's already denied it.
Yep. I got some packages. Oh yeah. I just thought it was funny. If you guys want to listen to it, but it's pretty cringe. First, I would go to my website and then just briefly peruse, just to get yourself up to speed, and then start listening. That's when the fun starts.
Well, why don't you do that for this week's Ball Busters if there's one on?
Really?
Why not? That's on topic. Creation. That's pretty much the topic, isn't it?
That's not a half bad idea, Brian.
Yeah, you could take excerpts from what he said, and you could point out where he got them from, and go through them the way you're supposed to go through them. Then make the point about the second proof that he didn't go near, and then go state as to why he either he didn't or he can't go near it.
Yeah, but I think it's
presented.
If I'm mistaken, I can only do a little part of it because I think it's really long. Where the heck?
Or whichever way you want. Don't leave me color your decisions. Not that I would do, but I'm just saying. I think it'd be a good topic.
Not that it would.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what I say to you, you're going to make you will make your own decisions.
You think?
I'm just saying, like, as a suggestion, that's because you'll be doing the presentation. As a suggestion, it would be a great presentation to do.
It's over 2 hours.
And my point about the citations being QEs, it's not that the citations belong to QE. It's that the order that they're given in, if they follow that order from QE's website, that is jacked up.
And with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!